Now available, the highly anticipated new album, Illuminate by Karma Coda, featuring the hit single, Turn. And 11 other new tracks, including Skylines. Something. And the elevating duet, Chapel. The new album, Illuminate by Karma Coda, is available at iTunes, Amazon.com, and CDBaby.com. Visit them at MySpace or karmacoda.com for more information. Karma Coda.
This is the One Up Network. Welcome to the One Up Yours show for Friday, March 2nd, 2007. This is Garnet Lee, and on my very left side right here, Mr. John Davison back in the house.
Hello.
Hey, so, and Shane and Luke are here also, of course.
Good to be back.
What else would we be doing? Come on.
It's Thursday afternoon. Got to record the big podcast show. John, did you listen to our show last week? It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, you had an unusual approach last week.
Esoteric?
Esoteric?
Well,
Or alcoholic?
No, we were trying. It's kind of a Robert Altman-esque thing, very free form, people talking over each other, let it happen. No, actually,
Yeah.
Garnet just got very excited.
I did get a little excited.
And it was kind of long.
Was a little
What?
long.
Did you make it through the whole thing?
I did. I was on a plane.
No.
He was trapped.
I was trapped in a very small area on an American Airlines flight to New York.
Did you
So
drink while you listened?
Eventually, yeah. By about halfway through, I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, maybe the five drink minimum, not the
Yeah.
best idea.
He reached up and hit the stewardess
Yeah.
call button, or I'm sorry, flight attendant
Yeah,
call button.
and they charge you $5 for a drink, but it was $5 well spent by that point.
So,
Garnet, I got to ask you, did Mitch at some point, I don't know, steal your girlfriend in high school, or was he a bully, or did he do something to upset you?
no, man, Mitch is really cool. Mitch and I have hung out several times, so
And it didn't go well.
Come on, let's be fair. Like, when we're putting on the headsets to talk, and you have that 2-finger rule, Mitch puts on his headset, and I'm like, dude, make sure you get 2 fingers. And he's like this shocker? I mean, like, listeners at home are, like, looking at their hands now going, like,
oh, you get it,
Does
right?
everyone know what the shocker is?
Inappropriate.
yeah, it's 2 in the pink,
And
1 in the sting.
there you go.
But that's exactly what he said. Like, as soon as he headphoned up, I mean, those were his first words on the mic.
I think what's really cool is we have a really good audience, and the audience was actually genuinely concerned about the fact that, hey, man, this guy sounds like he's getting shanghaied, and we were not Shanghaiing him.
Shanghaiing him?
Shanghaiing him. That's right.
That's good.
Anyway,
It's going well.
You guys, we don't want to make the whole interview just like become a big disaster where you guys don't appreciate it. It was a really good interview. It was very genuine. It was very sincere. Did we come after him? I mean, did the fact that I know the guy really well work in our advantage? Of course, because hey, we were able to talk like a bunch of guys sitting around hanging out and talking about this game. I already talked about how I interrupted, so yeah.
Oh, wait, blah, blah. I was just kidding.
Wait, we should all talk over each other.
Yeah,
Like, really
really
fast.
quick.
Blah, 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 blah.
But moving forward,
This also is my second time now with all this fancy equipment
With
in
all
front
your
of me.
knobs.
Yeah, I got all my knobs and
It does take a little while when you first start twiddling the knobs to figure out how
Exactly.
it works.
To get
you know?
it to
We're bearing
do
with
what you want it to do.
That's right. Also learned a valuable lesson, which is when I'm doing something with the boards and I hear something that I want to jump in on, I just can't because obviously I'm not in the middle of it. So anyway, got a really good show for everyone today. We talked yesterday in our pre-show meeting about what to do in the second block, and we had at least 3 solid show ideas. So I think you're going to enjoy today's second segment. Let me get to the first part. We got what you've been playing as usual. John's been traveling, so he's been doing some handheld gaming. Shane and Luke, actually, they've been getting ready for GDC, but they did have some time to play some games. John's already picked up a bunch of stuff off the message boards. We have several people who have started.
A lot of people had stuff to say about last week's show.
Including the biggest thread of all time.
Yeah.
That is pretty awesome. We did.
Mightier than the gaming literacy thread.
everyone's like, hell yeah,
is that
about
what we're talking
time.
about? That'd be awesome. We should talk about the profound advancement of the first-person shooter at the advent of System Shock and its predecessors in the second segment. Is that what we're doing this week?
I think something like that.
Click.
Yeah. Oh, my
Second
God.
segment is actually going to be a big GDC 07 preview, because when it came down to it, we knew that you guys are going to be really excited about that coming up next week. It's
Especially after the week we've been having.
especially after the week we've been having. So
Oh, my God.
we're gonna break it down. The way we decided to break this thing down is to go by platform. So we're going to do Wii, 360, PS3, and PC breakdown. Some tech people announcements, all kinds of stuff revolving around what's going to be GDC 07 next week. And then in the third block, Luke, news, anything going on? We'll find out.
Yeah, nothing.
It's kind of dead, huh?
Yeah.
Kinda.
Yeah.
No Sony news this week whatsoever.
Right.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Wow. Oh well.
It was interesting because early in the week you were complaining that nothing was happening because of GDC, and then suddenly it was like the mother load.
Yeah, there was sleuthing and journalism and all
People-
kinds of things that happen. on
Sleuthing.
People
Yeah.
open their presents a little early.
Sometimes that's how it happens.
So I thought,
Man, Dad gets pissed when you do that, doesn't
He
he?
does.
what do you say we let John roll into the what you've been playing, since he was traveling last week to go play something?
I was traveling to go play something.
How often do you get to even play games anymore?
Well, I play games a lot, but I don't get to go and actually see them for coverage very often anymore. But I went up to the reason I was on the show last week, to rein you in, was I was playing Forza 2 up at Turn 10.
Maybe that was it. Maybe it was subconsciously I was getting back at you for cherry picking that.
Interesting. I hadn't thought about that when I was thinking about the psych evals of everyone on the show.
Yeah.
But John's more of a racing guy than you are. He is. Admit it.
Oh, God.
You know what? Maybe John and I'll have like a Forza 2 duel when it comes out for the crown.
A duel.
Yeah.
All right, Aaron Burr. Let the man talk.
Shall I talk about Forza 2?
Talk about the 8-monitor setup.
Oh, I told you about that, didn't I? So they, I don't know. One of the things with the 3, I think,
Yeah.
whatever they did. What's up?
It's just the smell of this wine.
Oh.
Baloney.
They so one of the things they do, they have a setup in Turn 10s. So they have this sort of open area around everyone's office where they have a racing chair set up with wheels and pedals and a surround setup, and they have 3 360 debugs networked, so you get the big widescreen setup the way you used to be able to on GT3. And I was talking to them about this, and they said that in the code it actually allows you to network 8 360s together for a full 360-degree panoramic, like octagon around your racing set.
If
setup.
you have 8 360s and 8 displays.
Eight 40-inch flat panels and a racing chair and the $120 Xbox racing wheel and a nice surround setup, then you can have a fully immersive virtual reality experience.
Or you can buy a fucking car. Like,
Yeah.
I can't wait to see the NPD threads in a couple months after Forza ships, and people are like, "Oh, NPD numbers are getting exaggerated. People are buying multiple Xboxes to set up 8-screen Forza
multiple
2
copies of
setups.
Forza.
I mean,
this is bullshit."
You know, that is absurd, but I respect them for putting it in there because it didn't cost them anything to do that. I mean,
Right.
they already
So
had
what it does is
It was a free
essentially
feature.
it slaves Xboxes off a master one, which is driving the middle screen. So the cool thing is, regardless of how many, this is such a specialized thing. No one's going to fucking do it, but
No, it's the internet world. Someone will
do it, and there'll be.
someone will do it.
We've been saying we want to get pictures of this thing. I mean, the Turn 10 guys haven't done it yet. They just know that it's possible. But the cool thing about it is that regardless of how many you have networked on your own personal setup, there's only one that's really doing all of the actual work. Everything else is doing display. So you could potentially have 8 blocks of 8 connected over Xbox Live, because the 8 connected together is just one. It can still be on Xbox Live as well as running the network.
For the country club set, if you've got 64 Xboxes and 64 plasma displays,
and some kind of crane to lower you into the middle of the arrangement that you
I
have
actually
set
think
up.
you'd want your chair to like raise you into the room. Like you'd get in the chair below and be like, boop, 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 and
You
go,
know, I'd want like a Darth Vader setup where you just sit and it does a
You can get like a dome, like a geodesic dome.
Yes.
It's a television.
fantastic. But the game,
press
it's
X to activate geodesic dome.
Yes.
the stuff on the One Up show this week, and we're putting a preview up over the weekend on Forza 2, and there's some stuff. We went up and we did a bunch of stuff.
But you liked
It's
it.
very. I really liked it, and I think they have a little more. I'm trying to describe it how you would compare it to GT. I mean, it has a lot in common with Gran Turismo, and I think what they're trying to do is is similar, but their motives are different. Like Yamauchi has this, I want to simulate every car in the world and make it as accurate as possible. And both teams are hung up on physics in a big way. And like the things that they're doing to model these is very much a simulation. It's more simulation than game. It's trying to find the game within the simulation. They're not creating gamey situations for you.
Did they show you all the game modes?
No. So a lot of what we were doing was just trying cars out on the new tracks and seeing the way the cars behaved. And so one thing they did talk about is the AI that they're using this time. So they're doing a lot with the physics. It's doing physics at like 360 frames a second. So for every frame of graphics, it's doing a ton of stuff in the background. So the way that it works with force feedback, it's very much designed for the wheel this time. But the way the cars behave and they pitch and everything, the better setup you get, the more you're going to get out of it as a car nerd. But then on the AI side, they actually, when they were doing the first Forza, they did this, and it got Bill Gates' attention because they were working with some like neural network AI guys.
I saw Luke's bullshitometer just ping right there.
The way that they modeled the AI is, rather than doing paths and stuff, is that they set up this AI system, and it starts off knowing nothing, and then they actually drop it into the simulation and drive with it, and it learns from racing constantly. They throw the AI into the environment and keep throwing challenges at it, and the AI is slowly learning as they're developing the game. And they were saying that one of the things they could do is keep the code open when they distribute the game. And they thought about doing this with Forza 1, but eventually decided not to. Primarily because they wanted everyone's experience to be consistent. But then I think there's also a bit of they don't want it becoming sentient and taking over the world.
I saw a movie where that happened.
There was a movie where that happened.
Terminator 2, bad guys?
Skynet became self-aware.
But one of the things, one of the examples they gave of how it's learning and how it's just not exhibiting behavior they've taught it is by racing with a bunch of guys at the studio. The AI has started doing things they never taught it to do. So it's been doing brake checking, which is when a car will pull in front of you and it'll jab its brakes to force you to try and stop, and then it'll pull away. It's learned to do that by racing with the guys. They never said that was a technique to do, or it observed that maybe a guy did it by accident once when they were racing, and it picked it up, and it now does this to fuck with you.
That's pretty fucking awesome.
That is way fucking awesome.
The eye, everyone's eyes look the same right now in the studio.
Cool.
Everyone's like wide-eyed, like, that's not in
So you've been talking lots of big picture stuff?
Yeah.
But I'm curious, how's the frame rate? How's the lighting?
60 frames a second, the lighting's beautiful.
What resolution's the game at?
They were running it upscale to 1080p.
On a native 720?
Yeah. And
that's been like their thing lately with Microsoft.
Yeah.
Is it, look, we're going to upscale it to 1080.
Right. I mean, they were talking about how powerful the scalar chip in the 360 is, and they can crank it to 1080 really easily. It was running beautifully. When I saw it, not all the layers were in on the graphics.
A couple more passes you sent through it.
So right now, I mean, if you look at the screenshots on the site that Che runs, ForzaMotorsport.net, you see some of the screenshots, and there's clearly not all of the layers of detail quite there. You look at things like the wheels, the textures and stuff aren't in on the wheels yet, and the lighting's not all finished, but it was running locked to 60, and that's really what helps.
Is it shipping in May?
Yeah. It goes into submission in 5 weeks.
Wow, okay.
From what you saw, do you think the point-to-point races will be back, or will it just be circuit racing this time?
I don't know, because they showed...
Those were pretty fun.
Yeah, I mean, what they wanted to show was... So some of the tracks from Forza 1 are in, and then they've also... So as well as things like Laguna Seca, there's also Sebring now, which has never been in a game before, which is really well done. And
really cool, by the way, to have. That's a great road course.
Yeah, it's a really great... And so when we were there, Gunnar Jeanette, who's a Le Mans driver, has been consulting with them. He was... If people remember the Popular Science cover story. Do you remember that? Where they actually had Forza on the cover, and it was a Porsche Carrera GT, and it was the photo, and so Gunnar was the race driver that helped them with that, and they got to know him, and he's been coming in and helping them from time to time, and he's actually been sitting and playing the game and pointing to things on tracks that he races professionally and telling them, well, that's in the wrong place, and this isn't how this feels, and this isn't what happens here, and talking about, well, when I race this track, I judge when I brake by where this access road is, or where this tree is, and if I do it in the game, it doesn't work the way it does in real life, so you need to change it. So he's been going in and just telling them, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, and they've been adapting it. because they did the tracks based on satellite data and GPS data. I mean, like, these things are down to the
I can just see the GPS guy
yeah.
looking back and going, actually, that's exactly
where that tree is. And he's
Yeah.
been like, well, in that case, the car's wrong, because if I break this car on this corner, this is what happens.
The amount of work that goes into these simulators, like both this and GT, it's unbelievable.
So this guy sits in his tower and directs. I mean, can he fucking play the game or what?
He was fucking incredible. So they had this, like, the thing set up when I got there. It was me and a guy from Sport Compact Car were there talking to him about this stuff.
That's a cool combination.
Yeah, so it was the game angle and the car angle, and he was really interested in the way they do the metrics on testing the cars and stuff. And we were coming, but Gunnar was there, and he's like, well, so, this is what I do when I come in. He sat down on the 3-screen setup, got into an Audi R8 racing car.
American Le Mans series.
Yeah, it's an American Le Mans thing. It's what the new R8 is based on. I mean, it's like a crazy car. It's set up very much like a racing car, so all the power going to the back, no driver aids. So we got in on Sebring, which is a thing that Gunnar races professionally. And he just sat down, and it was like watching a robot play. It was fucking unbelievable. Perfect line the whole way through, and like he was racing with the wheel, and it has the paddles, and you could see him going into a bend, and he just like banged down through the gears, and you could hear him clacking through the gears, and nailed this perfect time, and then did another lap, did it exactly the same way, and then he's like, "You want to go?"
And like the time late.
Well, you're a veteran though. You've played
a lot of racing
game.
games. I've never raced Sebring before because it's never been in a video game
course.
before. But I know where the apex of a turn is, and I know how to drive it. Yeah, it's a
You
game.
have some gaming experience.
I do. So I sat down and I spanned that fucker out, and I crashed into the wall, and I couldn't get around it because this thing is so powerful.
Did he
And-
laugh at you?
Yeah, a little bit.
You got intimately acquainted with the damage modeling.
When you
Yeah.
crash, does stuff break off? In
Yeah,
Forza?
stuff falls
Okay.
off and it stays on the track. So it's not like in racing games in the past where there has been damage and it just disappears. In this, I mean, and this is something else the AI will do, is the AI will use damage against you. So it'll like bang you and make the bumper fall off, and it'll stay in the road.
That's what I
for
like.
as long as the race is going on. So if you clip it, it might fall away, but it's there, and they don't stop the race to come and have little guys come out and get it. If the bumper falls off and it's in the middle of the track, that's where it is, and you have to work your way around it. So that it's all about realism, and they talk about simulation, and I mean their vision is they want to turn gamers into being car obsessives and car obsessives into gamers, and that's pretty
cool.
But it's a pretty tall order, but. The attention to detail is so great that it's, I think they have a good chance, and they're out ahead, and they're handling it differently than Gran Turismo.
Nice. And you got to do some handheld gaming while you were traveling the airs, traveling the airways.
I played a game I can't remember the name of.
No, this is the one we were talking about yesterday.
Tryon Cube, which is a puzzler
DS.
from Bandai on DS, which I wouldn't recommend
Didn't
playing.
make such an impression, did it?
And I played some Lunar Nights, which I played for a while and thought, what?
Stick with it.
Right, because it starts off and it's like super conventional isometric role-playing game,
Yeah.
and then it turns into vampires in spaceships.
I really like.
Whoa.
I really like the shooting sequences. I got a big argument with Michael Donahoe. I think they're really.
It's awesome.
And they get
He
much
says
more
giggling.
They get more complex as you progress, and you get these other abilities.
And it starts off in like goth dude with big sword and everything's purple, and like you're talking to apparently your cat is also your phone. I didn't quite understand that whole
Yeah, your cat-
mechanic.
And before the pussy to
Yeah,
your
Well,
joke.
and there are a lot of furries and
Yeah.
stuff in the game.
And you're going around and you're like hitting things and you're like, this is kind of dull and conventional and 10 years ago. And then suddenly it's like big giant robots and spaceships and with vampires.
But it's like medieval and futuristic, and it's all over the place.
It's
but it's
you
fun.
stick with it. It's good.
Interesting. Great endorsement from John. Luke, I know you enjoyed some Flow.
I played a bunch of Flow it's a week or two ago.
I played through Flow this weekend too.
Yeah, so I said that it was a screensaver that you could control, and that while the characters improve dynamically, it's not a game and it's not worth $8.
I disagree.
Well, okay. So why do you
In other
disagree?
news,
Well, I think that it is not a traditional game by any stretch of the imagination. And for the first 10 minutes, I wasn't convinced I liked the motion control because I tried the Flash version, and there's definitely a disconnect when you first start playing because it doesn't control exactly the way you think it will. But once I surrendered myself to it and wanted to learn.
So how are you rotating its head basically, and that's leading it?
Well, how you control it depends on what animal, what creature you are. As you evolve, the gameplay changes, and how you propel yourself through the environment changes, and your ability changed. And it never really explains anything to you, so it's all discovery. and you can't die. So
And they always get bigger. As you consume more, they get
Yeah,
bigger,
they
right?
well,
but people can consume you too.
They change dynamically as you're like, you might eat a certain type of pellet that'll, you don't know, it never tells you, but like your wings will get bigger,
Yeah.
or your tail will get longer,
But
or
it's kind of like Pac-Man meets Echo the Dolphin meets Electroplankton meets a beautiful screensaver.
mine is fun.
It
You
is
didn't enjoy it, huh?
it is fun.
I mean, you know what? It's fun if you're high. All right, I'm just gonna say it. Like, if you're stoned, that is fun.
No, like
because that's you're like, dude, check my TV's awesome, and the sound in the game, like the sound is incredible.
The sound
like,
and the graphics
the sound
are-
is great.
and
But
the sound graphics and control are all great. I mean, there isn't a whole lot to it. That's ultimately like when you've played it for 2 hours, you're like, wow, I think I've gotten just about all I can get out of this. You can get that same experience out of it again, and you can bring friends over to
so
play
one,
it.
one
So it's what, $4 an hour?
Right, but it is an $8 game. It is a downloadable game. And
what do you get out of the $8 version that you don't get out of the free one?
it was a lot.
The control, like
The
the
control,
yeah.
six-axis
There's more,
control,
like-
is pretty brilliant, actually. Especially like the fourth form. Like the controls are all different, and when you really get used to it, and when you really can start making the pinpoint turns and going where you want to go with such ease, to me, it shows what six-axis is capable of.
And the presentation, because when I played this thing when I played it on PC, it's just like I said, it's a flash window. It's not elaborate. It's just very
It has that glowy
monochromatic.
Geometry Warsy kind of neon vibe.
Right.
to
Oh
it,
God!
right? Yeah?
Don't mention Geometry Wars and Flow in the same
Yeah,
segment.
they're completely different kinds of experiences.
No, I know, but I'm
I mean,
talking about
Geometry
the.
Wars
I'm
is
talking
a
about
game
the.
and Flow isn't.
I'm talking about the presentation because Geometry Wars is very impressive. I mean, the Evolved is way more impressive than the first one because it has
Right.
that
Well, but I
super
would
bright,
say-
very well, gorgeously lit neon kind
But
of.
I would say that Flow's presentation is actually well beyond there. Because it's very cohesive. Like the title screen is a place you can swim around on, and when you pause the game, it just takes you to a layer where there are no enemies, and like it's all connected.
It's
and,
art, man. It's totally
well, it is art, and like all the people who are like naysaying this game, like, oh, this isn't what I want. This isn't a regular game. Well,
like him?
Yeah,
like
it's
you.
not. It's not
like
a regular game.
But,
It's not
but at the
worth
same
$8.
time, these same people are like, oh, the immense artistry of Rez or Shadow of the Colossus. I commend games
Wait,
like
did
this.
you just
Oh, no,
compare Flow to
I wouldn't
Rez?
say
I
that
did just
either,
compare
actually.
Flow to Rez,
I
Jesus
poo-poo-
Christ,
I
Shane,
poo-poo
come
Shadow of the
on.
I think it's a
Colossus.
completely valid comparison. And
That is not a valid.
It is, dude.
Wait, no. Okay, so here, Rez is a fully realized game with multiple levels that entails all sorts of different game mechanics to go along with the music.
What are
that's
all the different sorts of game mechanics? Have you ever played Rez? It's like seriously.
all the way through several
Well, okay,
times?
tell me about the different gameplay
It doesn't have
mechanics in Rez.
one game mechanic.
Yeah, like you're
Okay, so
like seriously.
Okay,
Oh
so
God!
How wrong are you? I mean, I love Rez. Don't get me wrong, but they're both like.
I will let the people on the message board just argue 'cause this is stupid.
Well,
Yes, there's one mechanic to it in that it's shooting, but each of the 5 levels in Rez
Right.
has a very different atmosphere to it, right?
Right.
And every time that you play the game, depending on how you hit the data cores, depends on how much bonus you pull up and how the music expands off of that. Flow's not doing any of that kind of stuff.
well, depending on what you eat and where you go and how you evolve.
Let's be fair. Depending on what you eat, there's like maybe like 5 different things you can eat over the course of like the 6 or 7 levels that you go down. Where it's like, here's how this level's different from the other one. This one might have a huge ass motherfucking creature in it. This one might have creatures who will eat you. I mean, this is not. Let's not over complexify it.
If you want to take it to a rudimentary level, I suppose I could see a corollary because
Right.
you've got the Flow animal that evolves and grows,
Right,
and in
and-
Rez, the more you involve
I'm
your
saying
character.
Flow is 1/6 the price that Rez was when it came out, and it's about 1/6 the game.
But
that Rez was.
what you said, I believe, was that it was as realized as Rez. Isn't that what you said?
No, I just said it's comparable and like it's a similar approach to taking a simple gameplay mechanic and like putting it in this artsy, creative, visual presentation.
But they could have done a lot more with it.
Well, and maybe they will.
It's
Okay.
way more awesome if you're high.
Do you think it
Well,
would
so
work
is
well
Rez.
Yeah, so is Rez.
Dude, Rez by about a tenfold.
Would it work well as a handheld game?
Possibly. I mean, I think the motion control is really important, and like it wouldn't work well on PSP, but maybe on
It
DS.
could work on PSP. You'd only need one analog.
Oh,
It'd be a perfect PSP game.
but it's bound to be a divisive game, and it's not for everybody. It's very artsy, but I think it's precisely the kind of thing they need for a download service.
Well, I think it. I mean, I do think that if games like, a game like Flow, and not so much Calling All Cars, but a game like Flow is again indicative of, the direction that Sony's moving, where they are positioning themselves as like a premium system, something you pay a little bit more for. Flow, in terms of the value proposition, Flow is probably a little bit on the high end, but like, let's be realistic. If you're willing to spend $500 or $600 on a PlayStation 3, let's assume that if you did that, you probably have a good sound system and a good television. Because if you didn't, then your
Good
money's
point.
wasted.
Right.
Good point.
So if you have all of those things, you've invested what would be like realistic? Let's say $2,000.
At least.
At least.
$2,000 already. Like $8, drop in the relative bucket, and for $8, like at that point, if that's a value to you and it's worth it, then yeah, absolutely. The sound design's awesome. There's a particular creature in it where if you bump into this creature,
the bass sound?
there's this like rushing, like the sound is really cool.
Yeah,
Wait, are you saying? I thought you didn't like this game.
I don't, but I can
Well, you
recognize
can
that there are
you can
parts of it that are
appreciate
like there
it.
are parts of it that are worth appreciating.
As
there
an
are parts
audio
of it that are done
right,
well.
even if you don't like the gameplay, as an audio, visual, and control showpiece, it's impressive.
That's cool. It's cool. Did you guys agree on the other? I hear you played another game.
Oh yeah, we
shared
played another.
experience.
Here's the thing: like I played Chocobo Tales, but I really only played one mini game in Chocobo Tales, and it was because a person playing it couldn't beat this one thing, and it was like a 5x5 square, and in this like 5x5 25 square, a triangle pops up, and it's basically like Minesweeper. Like a triangle will pop up, and there'll be 1, 2, or 3 triangles, and then you have to move over in the direction the triangle's pointing, and you have to solve 3 of these puzzles in like 20 seconds. It's mindless, and I didn't beat it after like 20 minutes, but I could probably play like half a game. I could probably play a game like that for a while, like just a series of races through mazes. I was totally occupied.
As minigame collections on DS Go, I think it's up there among the best. I am very upset though that it does not have download play. I think that's really inexcusable.
Mini games, but it doesn't have download play.
Yeah,
that is kind of weird. When they did they ever talk? Did you ask them about that?
They just like, oh, we don't know. But I guess you can make your friends buy cartridges. Thanks.
Well, that's very
How judicious and fair.
I know.
That's an excellent call.
So I played a couple of games that like completely out of left field for what we've been talking about. It's left field. One of them, baseball. And you know what? I was talking to Brian.
I've heard wildly mixed reports on this.
Same. But
So-
we're
We're talking about 2K. You're talking about 2K's baseball
Talking
game
about
on
MLB 2K7,
360.
and I'm playing it on 360. Yeah, because if I played it last year, and I actually did the review last year. I wasn't on the review this year, and that game, the way you pitch, the pitch mechanic rumble is really, really important because you use the stick to feel around the edge, you feel around the edge of the strike zone. So, go ahead, Luke.
John even looked at me to be like, "Why aren't you snickering?" He was talking about using the stick to move around.
Well,
the edge.
I've heard the pitching is good, but I heard the batting. I've heard the batting.
That's right. And as you
not
can
good.
feel that sensation.
Yeah, and I'm actually thinking of I'm in my head. I'm like, I see a penis navigating like around an edge.
So what you're going to do is you're going to reach up there and grab the spline gear and slowly disassemble the Never mind. Anyone who got that listens to
Because
too
you
much
like
old-
the pitching, but what about the batting? I hear it sucks.
The batting doesn't suck. The batting is just look. This is this more simulation style game. If you go first of all, if you go in there and just play a quick game, which a lot of people are going to do right off the bat, the first team you're going to face is the Cardinals, and you're going to be facing Carpenter, who's their ace, and he has mad fast delivery. He is the ace of the team.
He's got good stuff.
Look how
baseball terms.
confused John looks.
He's
You
gonna
know what? Something just occurred to me is that we're hearing this. It's more a simulation than a game from a lot of people right now. There's a lot of games that are like, on one hand, you've got a lot of people in the industry saying we need to attract more people and we need to be more mainstream and it's all about, there's 40 million people out there that are interested in games. We need to do more to attract them. So how do they do it? They make incredibly obstructive racing games, incredibly obstructive simulation baseball games.
Let me frame this for you for a second, though, John, because I don't think in this case being a simulation is obstructive as much as it is in a racing game because of this. Most baseball games, people want to get in there and they have this idea that I'm going to swing at every pitch,
Right,
and every third time I'm going to hit a home run. But if you like baseball, if you're a baseball sports fan, that's not baseball. That's not real baseball. That's not the way baseball games play.
So you're saying if I want a modern equivalent of the last baseball game I played was Hardball on the Commodore 64.
Okay.
If I want a modern version of that, I've got to play Slugfest.
See, the last baseball game I liked was World Series '98 for Sega Saturn.
World Series 90. I can't understand if you liked
I
World
love
Series.
World Series
If you
98.
liked World Series 98, I don't understand how you don't like MLB 2K7.
I haven't played it.
You should play it because I can tell you,
Brian
I
told me it
love
sucked.
Here's the thing about Brian. Brian and Todd both said the same thing to me. They both said, "Well, I expect more innovation out of a baseball game." And I asked them, "What do you want out of it? What more innovation do you want?" And neither of them really had a solid answer for me. And here's the problem I have with that is that there's a difference. Like in Madden, we know Madden has gotten very lazy, and we find faults with the actual game of football it puts on the field. Problems with the blocking AI, problems with the defensive back AI. In this game, it plays a rock solid game of baseball. It looks fantastic. I mean, it is the most amazing next gen presentation I've seen of a sports game to date. I mean, it's like I was telling Andrew when we were walking over to get lunch today. The camera zooms in close to, like, really, really close to the batters, and it's the first time they don't look like zombies, they don't look like vampires, they don't look like waxworks, they look like people, and you're like,
I want
holy
to play Monster
crap.
Baseball, whatever game you were playing before.
Yeah.
Where it's like Frankenstein versus Wolfman.
Maybe they should
Oh,
take
come on.
Slugfest.
You were
next.
like Virtua Tennis where all the guys look like Dracula.
The creepy
It's like,
eyes.
"Urgh." I hated that. The other thing I put in the Command and Conquer 3 demo because they brought by like a full version to play, but it's like a difference between just sitting at your desk having fun and playing it versus a demo with the producer sitting there. Oh my god, I can't believe how instantly reattracted I was to that series. It's so funny. It's like I forgot that I missed the cheesy video stuff. It's like Michael Ironsides is there giving his like, you have to take charge.
Is the chick from Battlestar Galactica in the demo?
Oh, she's so hot too.
Which one is it?
The number 6?
Oh, I don't know which one that is. I don't watch that show.
Yeah, right. Sure you don't. And when she like
She was in Playboy, I heard.
Oh, I saw it. Yeah, that's good.
Really?
I'll have to come borrow that off your desk.
It's
So
John has it.
she comes into the scene too, and like right after she like introduces herself and everything, she just kind of smiles and knowingly winks at the camera, and you're like,
You sucker. You completely fell for what they were trying to do.
oh, of course.
Because we've been resistant to that, wouldn't we, guys? Huh?
That's very good of you. I tell you what they got right about CNC, and it's almost kind of weird because it's almost more Red Alert style, but the speed is so fast. It's really fast. I played like 3 skirmish games. The AI is ruthless and brutal. I mean, I had read on the forums where people were like, man, turn this thing up to medium and it just like beats the crap out of you off the first few times. And guess what? It does. It's really fast. It's really after you. So I'm surprised. You know what? They did the series right. I'm actually really, really looking forward to that now.
Cool. Well, let me jump in and say a few of the games I've been playing. I messed around a little bit with Symphony of the Night on Xbox Live. It's up on PartnerNet. If you have a debug, you can download it. And, I was a little depressed because it doesn't have all the new stuff that the PSP version is going to have, like the new translation or new items or anything. But it's still an awesome game, even with the border. Like, it sucks a little bit that it has a border. But if you haven't played this game in a long time, or if you've never played it, it's a fantastic title. So.
And it'll probably be like 800. I would guess like it'd be an 800
and
point.
it's supposed to come out in March, right?
Well, they're not saying it's supposed to come out in March.
But if it's up there, then that's a
here's
good
the thing.
sign.
They did say when we did a piece last week called "What's Wrong with Xbox Live Arcade," and they did promise that March was going to be like the big redemption for the platform, and even alluded to in the interview that you might see multiple games a week in March to make up for some of the drought we've seen lately.
And usually when things show up on PartnerNet, that's a sign that they're
pretty close.
About done. And Luke and I, we were both at EA had an event for Skate, their new skateboarding game. Some videos have already leaked out on that. And I really think it looks cool. It's very realistic. The camera angle is closer to the ground. It doesn't look like Tony Hawk at all.
That's a good thing because I used to really love Tony Hawk, but I kind of wore out on it.
But the gameplay is really different. It's not like the combo-based, arcadey kind of gameplay you're used to. It uses just the analog sticks, and it's more physics-based and realistic. I'm a little disappointed that right now the PS3 version doesn't use any 6-axis stuff, and that seems like a really obvious thing you said for manuals or for grinding, balance. So hopefully they'll be able
for balance that would actually fit really well with the way their controller
works. I was
works.
telling you, it's so obvious that you guys have time to incorporate this. You really should. Also, I played a little Qbert over the weekend.
Really?
I did.
God, I haven't played that in
I'm
forever.
ranked. I'm like number 230 or something.
What prompted you to do the Qbert thing?
I was downloading Flow and it was on. Anyway, the other
with a game like Qbert, it's an opportunity to go back and play a retro game.
Although ultimately, I think Qbert a little overpriced at $5. So
it's
a little bit.
Flow a good deal at 8. Qbert overpriced at 5.
Literally,
no achievements for Qbert.
Yet.
No co-op.
No co-op.
There's no co-op Qbert.
You know what? Microsoft will go back to the well and make a game that didn't have co-op. Have it.
Somebody could be Qbert. Somebody could be Squiggly, whatever his name is.
Oh, Slinky. Yeah,
Slinky.
Slinky?
I don't know.
Wow.
The other game
versus Bert.
The other game is the most left field thing I've ever talked about. It's called Code Lyoko. It's based on some kid's cartoon. Something I would never play. It's for DS, and these guys brought it in. And as it turns out, it's been like over 2 years in the making. It's this incredibly ambitious 3D platformer that literally has some of the best 3D graphics I've seen on DS. You have 4 different characters. They all have different abilities. And then between levels, it's a 2D adventure game like Hotel Dusk.
But good?
Well, you actually walk around and you zoom in on puzzles, and I was impressed. I mean, I probably wouldn't play this game because it is based on a cartoon.
You're now one of 2 people in North America
I know.
who will ever play the game.
We'll have a preview soon, I'm sure.
That would be the other person who's
But
going to play it.
apparently the cartoon is actually popular in America and has like a lot of fans, and it's encouraging to see that like licensed kids crap, because we're always making fun of like Hannah Montana on DS, can actually not be crap and can be good, and there are people out there who are taking advantage of the DS kid fan base and making good games with it.
Hannah Montana outselling all kinds of stuff.
Exactly.
Sales phenom.
So
Well, you know, that is good to hear, because the handheld market is a place where smaller teams can get in, but just because a smaller team can get in doesn't mean they have to like churn out junk.
Right.
They could actually spend a little effort, a little work, and
that's
do
why I was
something
blown
good.
away. I kept saying like,
That's
it's
cool.
a real game.
That's good.
Who'd have thunk?
We have real listeners, and they have all kinds of things to tell us about, don't they?
Yeah, there was actually, you talking about Skate got me thinking. There's a thread on the board right now about Skip's SSX Blur review.
Which he gave it a 5?
He gave it a 5.5, which I think a lot of people were surprised about. But I thought the review it's very well articulated what his issues are, and I think core to it is the fact that a snowboard is a solid thing on which both your left and right leg are attached, and the Wiimote and the nunchuck are separate. So it's like the whole metaphor is broken. And you was talking about how Skate doesn't use 6-axis. So I would think that SSX Blur has got to be a shoe-in for PS3. I mean, like, it's perfect, right?
Well, I mean, with a major visual upgrade, Jim.
Well, it needs a major visual
or
upgrade.
a PSN game.
But from a control perspective, I mean, Blur would be fantastic with that.
I don't know which of you remember it, but wasn't it it was either a surfing or a skating game.
Surferoid for PS2 that came with a board.
And you put it over the you put it over the thumbsticks.
That was only in Japan. In America, Yanya Kabbalista Street Skater for PS2 by Koei came with the board you put on your controller.
yeah.
Dude,
you just nailed it. I remember that.
Which little monkey inside your brain quick ran down the fucking memory tubes to open up a drawer to pull that Yanya K.
Luke, I hate to break this to you, but I know everything.
That was the game. That was exactly the game.
That one day that you're going to have I'm like this as well. You have so much useless knowledge in your head that one day there's going to be so much that you forget how to walk or
I
something.
was going to say, like, wives' birthdays.
Yeah.
I know Yanya Kabbalista Street Skater, but I don't know my mom's birthday.
Oh boy.
Okay.
So Slinky DVC, after as a follow-up to the 25-page thread talking about you guys getting drunk and cursing at Mitch last week.
The biggest threat of all time.
Biggest thread of all time. Then goes on to completely counter that with how One Up Yours is a vocabulary builder. And that he's noticed since listening to One Up Yours, he has started using the following words. This is all you guys.
Douche lord.
I feel like I'm on the electric company.
He doesn't use douche lord, but I think that should be introduced more into the collective psyche. Onus. Apparently we use onus frequently.
It's a good one.
Yeah. Quintessential. Paradigm. Yeah. Zeitgeist. That's all you, Shane.
I think Shane's the only one who's used that word.
It's now a forbidden word.
One that caused some amusement because Major Nelson apparently said it recently and used it in the wrong context. Penultimate. What does penultimate mean? Come on, guys.
Second to the...
Exactly.
Next to last.
It doesn't mean more than ultimate, does it?
No, it fully does not. It means less than ultimate, but by only like a little bit.
But only by a little bit.
Garner, another one. Not Garnet, Garner.
Ghana.
Archetype. We've helped popularize the word archetype. Cretan says that he uses indicative a lot more than he used to.
Oh, I like that word a lot.
Yeah. And then I have to read this thing from Gluebags because it made me laugh. He says, I'm 23 and an English philosophy major. The podcast has yet to endow me with a new word. That's what pretentious professors are for. And he says, Jesus, I ended a sentence with a preposition. That is that for which pretentious professors are. And then concludes with, oh God, I'm coming.
So he wants us to use a word that he is not aware of.
Exactly. Can you think of a good one?
Oh, man. Give me some time.
Well, the longest word in the English language I was learning.
Extraphilus.
Extraphilus, yes.
It is.
That's a fake word. Well, anti-disestablishmentarianism is the longest word.
No, there's one longer. Flocky knocky nihilipilification.
What is that?
It means nothing.
Oh.
But it's actually a couple of letters longer than anti-disestablishmentarianism.
It sounds like a Douglas Adams word.
It's a real word.
I once heard a rapper successfly rap anti-disestablishmentarianism.
That's awesome.
That was impressive.
That was probably the whole line. It was like his first line.
No, he used it properly in context.
What did he rhyme it with?
Could you
I'd have to go back.
Prison.
I'd have to go back to the tape. I don't know.
Prison.
What are you trying to say? God, Garnet, what are you trying to say?
So what's...
no, I'm not even going to say what you're trying to say.
I mean, John, you can't make
I'm
vocabulary.
glad you're here this week.
You can't make vocabulary magic happen naturally. So we'll try to use a new word in context in today's podcast.
We will.
Yeah.
We will.
Yeah.
So,
Analificate.
good attempt. Good attempt.
just had to fill a couple of quotas in my head. What's next?
What's next? Are we all ready? Heatseeker 32. How much would you pay for Shadowrun, presumably sparked by last week's intelligent debate?
Well, no, actually, Luke set the pricing for it last week.
$39.99.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Heatseeker 32 thinks $29.99, and then there's a lot of pages on this, and there doesn't seem to be any agreement. And a lot of people are saying they drop 50 on it.
$29.99 is fantasy.
Did
Alliance.
anyone go as high as $69.99?
No, but people did go as high as $59.99 because they feel very passionately about the franchise and about shooters in
You
general.
need to delete
and,
those
yeah.
posts off
What
the
if
boards.
what if there's a helmet with it?
Oh, well, $100 then,
All
obviously,
right.
yeah. But I mean, I guess the
$99.99 might not be
consensus
enough.
seems to be in the 30 to 40 range.
$39.99 is the low end of what you can charge, right? Isn't that what Earth Defense is?
That's the lowest price point right now for a retail game on Xbox 360.
Right. I don't think they'll be at the lowest price point. I wouldn't be surprised if they came down a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if it was
in the Viva
$49.99.
Pinata range? That's what Viva was. It was $49.99.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was $49.99.
Angry Gay, who is more frequently posting than previously,
Is
which
he
is good
angry?
to see. He's not. Well, he's a little bit angry about, and I don't know anything about this because I've not seen it yet. But no random battles in Final Fantasy 13, citing a story that was on Destructoid.
Well, okay, to fill him in, that's true. We know very little, but we know that as opposed to previous Final Fantasies where you just suddenly are at a screen where you're doing a battle, there will be some sort of indication that a battle is about to occur, and there will also be some new gameplay element that happens at that point that allows you
I got it.
affect what
I got
happens
it.
in the battle.
When that thing comes up, you just fucking shake the 6-axis and maybe you don't have to fight.
No, I think more likely you see what's going to happen, and the girl in that game, Lightning, she has all these abilities. She can slow down time. She can do things. So you probably have some, gameplay actiony thing where you can get the advantage or disadvantage on your enemy before the battle.
kind of
happens.
like,
With
do you
the
remember the combat
6-axis.
system in Parasite Eve?
Maybe a little like that, or mix
When the sphere would come up and...
right, or like
God, I love
games
that
like
game.
Grandia or Chrono Cross, you would see the enemies before, and if you hit it from the front or the back, you get an advantage. But I think it's going to be something more than that. But
Okay.
very little is known. We'll know more in May.
Isn't it
Excellent.
fairly premature to start worrying about it now?
13?
I think we'll just be seeing a lot more in May, and you'll probably be playing a demo by the end of the year.
Wow.
6-axis, they're going to use it for that. They have to.
Liquid Hokage is getting a lot of response to his embarrassing game confessions thread. Do you have any embarrassing game confessions?
I don't know. Give me some context.
Well, he says that, for example, he only got to level 19 in WoW, for which he feels inadequate, apparently. Ying vs. Yang says he never finished Super Mario Brothers. Shaolin Drunkard says his embarrassing moment is that he actually likes God Hand, which a lot of people jumped on board with and agreed with him. I know some people very passionate about God Hand. I think it's awful.
Entire message boards on the internet are passionate about that game.
I respect it, but I hate it.
Mm-hmm. And the disgruntled gamer says he couldn't beat Yoshi's Island 2, which he feels somewhat
It gets
embarrassed about.
really fucking hard. You shouldn't
Yeah.
feel that bad about that.
Okay. Anything that you?
Yeah, I would say anyone who's seen me actually play Tetris would feel
Are
embarrassed.
you bad
for
at
me.
Tetris?
I'm awful at Tetris.
Really?
Awful. My college girlfriend was like a space genius with it, and she'd always be like, "Oh, let's play Tetris."
See, I have a similar one in that I'm really bad at Lumines. Really bad at Lumines. I just can't think in
squares.
squares.
Yeah, I'd rather play a game with some guns and some bald marines.
Yeah, maybe some naked chicks.
Yeah.
I guess there's gonna be a time to cop to not having finished Halo 2.
Yeah, I'm going to cop out and say I never actually finished Wind Waker. I was on the review, and I got to the Triforce Hunt, and we were running out of time, and I kind of watched Mark finish it.
I got to the Audrey, or actually I got just past the Audrey, which is the giant plant from Little Shop of
Feed me,
Horrors.
Seymour.
Whatever. I was like, why? What? I can't now.
Heathen.
So, I mean, it's more a pile of shame than embarrassing, but I have never played God of War. Never even picked up a joypad and connected to God of War.
I kind of faded on it. I stopped.
Did you?
Yeah.
Ran out of gas?
Yeah.
Why do you think you ran out of gas? I'm curious because
I think-
I ran out of gas on God of War
I think
also.
part of it just was I had a friend come to town, and she was
Okay.
staying at my house, so it was just,
Oh.
Do tell.
There's no drama. It's rude to play video games, while they're trying to sleep and you're sleeping on the floor.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sticking with it.
It's been
sticking it on the floor.
It's been cold here this week. I'm surprised you stayed on that floor.
I have a mattress from my camping days and a mummy bag. I was all right.
That's his story, and he's sticking to it.
Mudron posted a comic from moderntales.com, which is a bunch of people sitting around making GDC predictions, and one of them looks very much like you, Luke.
Interesting. Does he have a?
It's a hairy
license?
dude wearing a Halo 3 release date T-shirt.
Does
actually,
he have? Does he have licensing? Dude?
for the Luke Smith TM trademark.
Yeah, does he? I mean,
Well,
does
for
he
your
have that?
likeness.
So,
yeah, my likeness
so he
too.
loosely based it off
Can we
of
get legal on this?
you and Jane. Jane's one of the characters also.
and Kathleen, I
Right.
believe, yeah. And then someone that might be Brian. There's a sort of vaguely jockey-looking guy.
Little Sporto type
Oh,
guy.
my
Yeah,
gosh.
Sporto kind of guy.
Brian, if you're listening, man, it doesn't look like you, dude.
I don't know, I'm just,
That's a really loose caricature.
I'm being
the others kind of come
being
across.
extrapolous. Finally, Reverend Slim, the fastest growing thread I've seen on our board ever, talking about Sony blackballing Kotaku this week.
Or not.
Or not, because now they're good chums again.
They're white balled again.
Yeah, is that what the opposite of blackballing is?
It might just be balling.
Blue balling.
Well,
Ballin'.
no, it's not blue balling. I don't think in this
Just
case.
ballin'.
They're just balling.
They're just balling now.
Just
Yeah.
balling.
Which sounds really good with an English accent, I'm sure. They're balling. Yes?
Yeah.
So, well, you looked into this, Luke.
Well, yeah. I mean, I followed this all day today. This
And
is sort
you
of
used
like,
to work at Kotaku.
I
so-
did. I did used to work at Kotaku, and what Kotaku did was they actually broke a story about a rumored technology called Home, and that's a technology that's supposedly going to be unveiled next week at GDC. And what they did, Michael McWhorter wrote the story, and he pieced together a series of quotes from like Phil Harrison in a bunch of different interviews, and then with a leak, like a Kotaku insider leaked a bunch of information about it, and Michael organized this all into like a single coherent piece, and then Kotaku gave Sony the heads up. And from what it sounds like, I mean, there's a very public dispute between Kotaku and Sony where Kotaku they posted the story, and then Sony, said we're no longer going to deal with you guys. And then, later in the afternoon, like cooler heads prevailed and everything calmed down. But the important thing to look at is the actual, like, the meat of the original story. I mean, Michael did a really good job of putting everything together. And then the way community sort of can gravitate toward and continue to make news over at NeoGAF, a poster named GoFreak, who we've referenced before, I think, on this show. He uncovered trademarks a little while ago.
Right.
He uncovered a trademark that SCEE had just filed for at the end, like 2 or 3 days ago, like last week, with the Home trademark. And there was a brand image there, which we've seen, we saw that with the 6-Axis brand earlier, or late last year. And then as all this comes to fruition, all of a sudden this particular panel at GDC next week called The Experience is King, Social Gaming for the Next Generation, with Dave Reynard, who is the Creative Services Manager at SCEE, and Mike Hay, who's the Studio Director at SCE London. All of a sudden that becomes a little bit more interesting too. I do think that you're going to see this home service sort of be a core part of what
So
Sony's
it's a little
gonna
bit
announce.
Me, a little bit Animal Crossing, a little
Maybe
bit My Street,
maybe
a little bit
achievements.
a little bit
I don't-
achievements, and then some sort of meta MMO-y sort of
like some
thing.
sort of like slash pizza
Some
functionality.
commerce stuff.
Yeah.
But it's basically, I mean, what we think it's the community aspect that's lacking from PlayStation Network in a big way.
but it's going to be graphical, but instead of
Yes.
just chat.
Right.
So, I mean, hopefully it's true, or it could be. I mean, we were pretty convinced that the X-Fire stuff, which
And
was
that-
as well researched, 6 months ago, and that kind of fell through.
So I mean, I hope for Sony's sake that this is correct, because this is a pretty cool thing if they are able to like unite their community. And I mean, to play the role of Shane, it's probably free.
Well, here's what I hope for Sony out of this
it
deal.
may or may not be free.
I hope that they don't make this grandiose promise and have it out there. We're going to do this, and it's going to be fantastic, and here's this beautiful picture of what it's going to look like. And, well, right now we really don't have it all ready, but
Well, Microsoft did that with Live. Remember, like, early iterations of Live
I know.
on 360? They were like, well, remember this girl gamer? She's going to be able to make boots and socks for this game. And, like, that user-created content element is
that's
still
exactly why I was thinking of this.
so far away.
And that was in an environment where they weren't competing against a competitor who already had those things and had gotten evolved. And already we've had PS3 for a long time. Not for a long time. Already we've had PS3 for some months, right? And already we've been hoping for better online. And so if they aren't able to say, not only are we doing this, it's going to be here now, or it's going to be here in 3 months. If they're saying it's going to be here 6 months, it's going to be here in a year, it's going to be here in 18 months, that's going to be somewhat empty to me.
Yeah, but let's withhold judgment until it's actually announced.
Okay,
Yep.
I'm totally cool with that idea. But we've got plenty more speculation to come in just a minute. Remember, all we're going to do is
But yeah,
speculate.
we'll talk more about Home, too, I'm sure.
So we're going to talk more about Home 2. We've got people, announcements, games we'll be playing for the first time. Plenty of reason to stick around, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
You're listening to One Up Yours, part of the One Up Radio Network.
Can't get enough of DL.TV? Then download our podcast. Just go to DL.TV and click on the audio link.
Turning them loose.
You'll be able to listen to Patrick, Robert, and the rest of the gang over and over and over again.
Remember to keep the ear canal clean and don't share if you don't want to risk spreading disease.
All right, and we're back ready to talk some GDC. And Luke, I actually wanted to start this off with you because last year, GDC would have been like your coming out party for One Up Network, except for...
Great, that's a great way of phrasing it, Garnet. Thanks.
Hey, if the shoe fits.
Yeah,
anyway.
I was supposed to be here for GDC. I was supposed to get here the Monday
Right.
before it started, to start it at One Up, and I thought, like,
We were
this would be
actually
great.
planning, like, you were going to be part of our coverage plans and everything.
Yeah, but I've got in a car accident. So during GDC, while the internet was exploding, I was stranded in Nebraska while some dude built my car back from scraps.
Nice. And as Shane knows, Nebraska's...
I've driven through it once, boring. But I've been going to GDC for about 4 years.
You can
and
give Luke the
I can
scoop,
give
right?
you a little bit of expertise here on it.
I'm really excited. The panels look awesome.
Well, actually, this year they do look pretty awesome compared to years past. Seeing GDC evolve, like 3-4 years ago, it really was the Game Developers Conference in that it was for developers. You'd go there.
Well, as part of the press, you were definitely there was some disdain for being the press at GDC.
Right, and it wasn't for you. There weren't really press conferences, and back then the keynotes weren't. No one announced games. No one showed trailers.
No, it was all about technologies and middleware, and if you found yourself at a party, like because you knew someone or whatever, there would be a "What are you doing here?" kind of
right. And then
vibe.
it's slowly been changing, and there started to be more interesting sessions. I remember there was like a famous session by the Eco guys where they like went through the whole development of Eco, showed it for the PS1, and it was incredibly illuminating. Also, like the guy who made Rez, Mizuguchi, he had a big session about the making of Rez, making a Space Channel 5. And then a few years ago, Mr. Aonuma, the guy who made Zelda, talked the whole story about his working on the project with Miyamoto, and it's very interesting stories you've never heard, kind of like behind the scenes things. But most of the time, you'd go in one of these sessions and it'd be like some boring guys talking about like programming physics, and you would fall asleep, and it wasn't for you.
Is it like channel 267, 268, 269 on your
like,
cable box?
Like 80% of the sessions were completely useless as a press person. I mean, they're really for people who program physics. And starting last year, really, the companies realized, hey, we can make this into more of an event and get coverage. And that's when we had like Nintendo giving keynotes and Microsoft giving keynotes and announcing games, showing things for the first time. Last year, Nintendo showed off Brain Age, and they gave us all a copy of Brain Age a full month and a half before it came out. And everyone was, it's like when Oprah gives away free cars.
And then everyone had stopped playing it by the time it came out.
Well, yeah. But so this year, with the diminished importance of E3 and the industry and all these new things happening, everyone is using GDC to show new shit. And it's very exciting for us. And there's tons of good sessions, and I think a lot of good stuff's going to come out of it.
So we're going to talk about each platform and make some predictions for it, right? So
I think that's what
should we
the
do that?
outline says.
Let's do it.
Should we start with Nintendo, seeing as Iwata is one of the keynotes?
Actually, it's
It's
Mr. Miyamoto.
Oh, Miyamoto's
Yeah,
doing the
Iwata's
keynote.
given the keynote last 2 years, and they've been really good, and they've really
Iwata was great last year.
and the year before, because he really sells himself as someone who understands games, made games himself, loves games, and his heart's really in it.
Yeah,
You
I mean,
know,
last year they were talking about Brain Age and the importance of the touch generations,
Right.
and
Well, and
how they can make a game cheaply and quickly,
Right,
and it
that's
touched
what
millions.
Well, that's when they got up there. Mr. Iwata's like, I gave a team of like 10 people 90 days to make a game that's going to sell 1 million copies, and they did.
Mm-hmm.
And they also talked about the whole story of going after the license with Dr. Kawashima, how difficult that was, and how they had to actually make a prototype and show it to him before he would sign up on the rights. But the year previous is when Iwata talked about Nintendogs, and both these times it was a really hard sell. He gets up there and like has this crazy left field idea, and he has to sell everybody on it. But by this point, now Miyamoto's out here. Who knows what he's going to show us? What new idea he's going to pitch to us? It's going to be crazy. Some people are saying it's going to be Animal Crossing Wii because we know that's coming. And there was an Animal Crossing movie in Japan recently. At the end of the credits, they're like, "See you soon on Wii." So we know like it's coming to Wii, and we're going to see it soon.
Well, there was never any doubt that it was coming to Wii.
Right.
But is that really what he's going to use this keynote to address?
It seems a little obvious.
Yeah, it does to me too.
The other big theory is that it's going to be the Wii Fitness, the Wii Health game that he's also talked about a few times. It's much more left field, more touch generations.
That would
needs
very
more
much ring true.
explanation.
That would very much ring true for me.
I hope it's something completely new, like something that we haven't even thought of it. Like, hasn't even been a twinkle in the collective eye yet. I mean, was before Nintendo. I was writing about community theater probably when that was happening. Like,
Right.
Was that something where you guys would have sat around and been like, "Oh, we hear that they're doing this dog game for the DS"?
And what's funny, when they brought it out there, everyone's like, what the hell is this? And then last year, when they're like, yeah, last year, remember when everyone scoffed at us for Nintendogs? That was the best-selling game of that year. So maybe you should listen up this time with Brain Age. So we did. So
Miyamoto tends to have a fair amount of flair and stage presence. I mean, he likes to get up there and
Remember the beginning of the E3 thing where he comes out and conducts some shit.
or came out the year before with the Sword and Shield.
the Sword and
now
Shield,
Zelda.
exactly.
Yeah, so he can really do anything. I think what they might do is just go nuts on touch generations and show like a multitude of touch generations games, because they have a lot of them sitting in Japan already on DS and coming out for Wii. And it's
So they're extending that. They're going to extend that brand onto Wii as well.
I think they will. I mean, they've had such success, and they've had all this mainstream appeal with Wii, the grandmas and moms and shit.
In the
know?
context of it being a game developers the game developers conference, that fits in really well, because you're talking to developers. You're saying, hey, here's this concept, here's this line of games you can develop for and be part of and have success.
Well, and they're all
Well, I mean, have success, Nintendo, first-party home console. Let's think of have success for a room full of developers as pretty relative.
well, but if you look at what third parties
You
are
don't think they want to reach out to some third
Well,
parties?
but if you look what third parties are doing on Wii right now, like, let's port lots of shitty PSP and PS2
Right.
games. That's not what you should be doing. Miyamoto needs to come out here and be like, actually, you need to think like I'm thinking. Think of like new ideas. Don't just do what everyone else is doing. I hope that's his message.
Yeah. They need to be looking at more Cooking Mama than
You know,
I don't know.
Driver 4 or whatever
Yeah.
it is. Yeah.
or shooters.
Oh, I
Come
thought
on.
Prince of Persia kind of looked kind of interesting using a Wii.
It's a port of the
But it
PSP
is a
game
port,
with
yeah.
less functionality, with fewer modes and fewer levels. I
Yeah.
don't want that. Sorry, Prince of Persia. But yeah. So who really knows? I mean, they could show something totally left field that we could never guess in a million years. But my best guess is Animal Crossing or Wii.
Well, I hope that if it's Animal Crossing, that is just the obvious front for something more substantial, which is here's an online strategy that's actually got some substance.
Here's a game.
Here's how we're deepening your me experience.
Here's a
something
game.
like
Here's a
that.
game you can actually play online. How about that?
Right, yeah. Well, I mean, like, you know, looking at what Sony's doing, you know, potentially doing with Home, and what they, you know, beyond just Me Parade, what they could do with Me, rather than just creating a little cartoon character and dropping it into one or two games. Having this, I mean, there was the whole thing about, you know, the Wii Connect and it being on all the time and things living in your little computer people metaphor that they had going on.
Right.
Where is that?
Well,
What happened?
For a while, we thought Animal Crossing would be like a pack-in, like a built-in thing that happens with your Wii, and that didn't come out. And like, you know, they could just announce some crazy new channels. Who knows? Like,
What if? I mean, what if?
I don't think they'll just use. I think just channels would be pretty low key for what people expect from
Yeah,
this.
I think it has to be games.
I think maybe it's you guys are talking about like some online stuff. Maybe it's something. I mean, we've talked about tech, and other people will be talking about new technologies. Maybe it is a new manner of thinking of the Wii 24 and more like you talk about more me stuff.
Or
more-
what it could be, what they've totally dropped the ball on is DS and Wii
Connectivity, yeah.
which is
Well.
baffling because Sony is really kicking their ass. And
Because
you know,
they should
Well,
sync up.
yeah, Nintendo did that first, though, right?
Right.
They were like 4 years
Cube-
old.
I remember,
Cube and
remember
Game Boy.
Pac-Man versus, but yeah,
What
like
was the Zelda game where
Four
you...
Swords.
Yeah.
But yeah,
well, and
like,
Crystal Chronicles.
Mm-hmm.
Crystal
I mean,
Chronicles.
that was
But right now, Wii and DS are so hot, yet they're not doing anything to connect the two.
Well, what if? I mean,
Besides Pokemon. Pokemon
Right.
does have connection.
maybe they'll revise the hardware already. Maybe they're like, hey, we're obviously not getting enough out to demand anyway. Demand's still so high. We'll ship less to the retail channel. We're building some new stuff in.
Oh God,
that's nice.
I don't think that's gonna happen.
I've kind of given up looking.
You know, actually, I hope it's live by the time you're listening to this. We called 50 states in this fine country at Walmart's and EB Games, and I don't remember what the final numbers were. But when Dan Dormer checked in with me this morning,
Don't worry. Those PS3 shortages are gonna be clear up by April.
yeah, the 20 stores that he called had exactly no Wiis. One EB Games guy, he's so sweet. He said, I've got this PS3. I'll hold it for you for 48 hours, man. It's
thanks.
awesome.
Aw.
Nice.
no 20 gig PS3s though. Also,
Well, they didn't ship any.
You think they'll actually be, just on the side, do you think there'll actually be a run on PS3s now with the whole American version, the best one?
It's all going to come with a game. Motorstorm
yeah,
ship
until
PS3s.
when games come out, like on the 20th, or a bunch of games coming out, then
Yeah.
people might buy them.
I think Motorstorm will sell PS3s. Yeah.
Just because it looks so
it'll
good.
sell more than 50,000 a week in March.
All right, so before we leave Nintendo, entirely. Touch Generations. Do you know of any new games we're going to be seeing? Do you know of anything?
There's
you've been
all
playing?
those brain ages that
Would
we
we see the
don't
new
have.
Wendon too?
Maybe. I mean, there are literally like 5 different training games in Japan that we haven't seen. So
And
Poetry training, right, Shane?
I fucking hope.
awesome.
I will
awesome.
walk the fuck out.
And then
Miyamoto gets up and starts rhyming.
You know-
Done.
EBA 2, hopefully.
Well, yeah. I mean, like Wendon's good, and it would make sense because Keiichi Yano's going to
Right.
be there.
Yeah.
So I hope that we see some form of
Well, yeah,
tap
as you said,
music.
like the Innis guy is giving a session, so that makes maybe we'll talk about that. And like the Brain Age team is giving a session, and the musician who makes all the Zelda and Mario music, who could conceivably be working on Wii Music, is also giving a session. So maybe
conceivably.
we'll see.
All right, so if it's not going to be big on Wii, how about 360? Is there going to be new technology there?
They don't have a keynote. I mean, they have some sessions that they're giving, like the RPG session.
Their keynote basically is that 4-man session with Sakaguchi.
Which is interesting because, like you were saying about what GDC used to be, which is all about developers. That session is all about PR. It's all about if you want to play RPGs, look at the 360. We've got Blue Dragon, we've got Lost Odyssey, we've
Fable
got
2.
Fable 2, we've got Mass Effect. You know, it's
Well, we know Mass Effect is going to be demoed in a new environment. That's exciting. But I really hope we see Fable 2. I mean, nothing's been seen. And
Well, they're going to show more than like just the demo, like a new environment. They're going to show actually, I think, the opening cinematic
Of Mass
also
Effect?
from Mass Effect. Which
Oh my!
I mean, granted,
God.
I mean the guy that I was talking to is
I don't want to see a cinematic. I want to see the game.
well, you want to see
and the game looks so fucking
wanna
good.
see
Who cares about a cinematic?
You want to see the intro to the game that you're going to see, like you want that little like before
how
you
about
press
put
start.
the intro
business?
movie as a download and let us see the game at the show?
Because the conversation looks as good as CG to me.
But I'm also really excited. Blue Dragon's probably my most look forward to 360 game this summer.
Really?
And
Will you turn your 360 on? It's been 107 days.
Dude, the day I get that preview build, I'm playing it because like I know.
You want to play that more than Mass Effect?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a Japanese game. It's Shane's bias.
I prefer
He prefers
Japanese RPGs to white RPGs.
to Oblivion,
to white RPG.
Oblivion in space.
I think I'm fairly confident Mass Effect will be my game of the year, just from the buzz on it. I mean, I'm so
Have you
excited.
my
have you
God.
played it?
No, I'm just
Wow.
thinking in terms of
I mean,
most anticipated game of the year.
I'm a little skeptical about the battles just because of the squad-based element. I feel like introducing that into RPG could muddle it. I don't know. I'm open-minded about it, but I've never played an RPG.
It does look a little complicated.
I've never played an RPG with squad-based combat that I liked. So we'll
I
see.
haven't been this excited about a game in a long time. I hope they deliver. But BioWare,
I'm on this side of the fence over here with
But
John. I haven't
keep
been.
your expectations in check, right?
Oh yeah, I'm in check. But I mean, like as a gamer, not a
But you think
not a
it's going to be
critic.
better than GTA 4?
Yes. Wow. I do.
Oh, that's,
I
a good,
want-
that's an
I-
interesting
I
point,
hope that it
actually.
is.
Yeah,
Well,
I
we'll
forgot
find out.
about- I forgot about GTA 4.
That's what Microsoft wants.
Well,
They
I
want
will
me to
say
forget
that
about
I
GTA
do.
4.
Yeah.
I think the direction they're going with the interactivity with the characters and being able to actually watch. They've talked about it a lot, but they'll use their same words, the digital actors, to actually have them be able to use facial expressions and other nonverbal means of communicating emotions, and then not just picking from a tree, but shaping a conversation by guiding what sorts of responses you want to give. That makes me so excited to want to play that part of the game.
One other thing going on from the software perspective is Dennis Dyack is going to be here. I'm not sure if they're showing To Human or not. I know it is ready to be shown again, but I think they might be waiting until after GDC. But he's actually going to be on the EGM Live podcast with me next week, and I'm really looking forward to that because
Because you loved this game.
I believed in To Human when I played it last
Well, I mean,
January.
from the way, just from the screenshots in the feature that you wrote, it looked stunning.
Right,
And,
and
when you saw it at E3, it's like, this isn't the game Shane saw.
Well, and when I talked to Dennis at DICE, he agreed with that and he thinks that was a misstep. And I still believe in his vision, so I'm looking forward to talking
So
to
you're
him.
going to
gonna be
talk
you-
about their engine, their special engine.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll see about
So
that.
it's going to be you and Mark, and
Me
it was
and Mark.
Mark that wrote the.
Mark is the one who famously called it terrible at E3.
Okay.
So
Well, he wasn't far off the mark. I sat in one of those weird, furry, pods that they had at E3, and the screen was hanging down in front of you, and I'm like, when does it turn into that game that Shane wrote about?
this year, hopefully.
And it didn't.
And it never did.
No.
Did you go to a Dennis Dyack demo too?
Well, it wasn't Dennis. There was a guy that was standing next to me pointing to things on the screen.
Okay.
But I was distracted by all the white fur that was sort of enshrouding me.
Well, and the big thing people are saying about 360 is when we're going to see Zephyr. It's the secret, the worst kept secret in the world.
Well, that was where I wanted to start, was because I think that the hardware will definitely be part of the things
Right.
that,
Well,
that
and
Microsoft
if you don't know what
wants to talk
Zephyr
about.
is, it's the redesigned 360 that has a larger hard drive, has HDMI.
I don't know if GDC is is the place for hardware, because unless it's here is what we as Microsoft want you to be doing with your games. I mean, it's still got to fit into the mission of GDC, which is essentially to bring developers together.
But as long as
I don't think that's going to be the piece they push.
As long as the core unit exists, well, then there is no reason to push Zephyr on developers.
What do you think?
It's going to be it's going to be the force feedback steering wheel. I mean, they have an entire session devoted to talking about how they implemented the force feedback system and how wonderful it is on the 360 and the 360 wheel. That's absolutely a setup. So they obviously want developers to make more racing games to integrate all sorts of force feedback and using the wheel and really drive. Look, here's a really great peripheral. It's more immersive. You can really get into it.
I think they want to share the API for other devices that use, because the thing about that wheel that a lot of people haven't talked about is it's force feedback and rumble. It does both. So when you're racing, I mean, like in the context of a game, it's tugging against the wheel, so you're fighting the wheel, and it's translating essentially textures through the device. So you're getting two layers. So in a car, you're getting the front wheels and the back wheels. Now, to be able to take that API and apply it to maybe other types of controllers where you have two types of feedback as well as what you do, I think there's some interesting things that they might be able to do.
You played with the wheel when you were there, right?
Yeah.
So I remember you were talking about on Sebring, there's a part where like you're on a curve and it's like washboard. So you're like,
it's constructed out of these sort of chunks of concrete. So as you drive over it, it goes like this. So you're did that sound kind of?
Sounds like something else. That sounds like something else to me.
So as you're driving over it, it's a long right-hand bend, and there's this texture on the road, and you're getting it's pulling against the wheel and shaking the wheel at the same time.
So that's what I was saying.
And it's kicking it out through the sound. So you're getting this.
John gets
feeling the texture of the road.
Sparkle in his eye when he talks about racing games.
The question I want to know is, do you get that sensation of wheel hop?
Yeah, I mean, you're getting this. It's
like, you know what I'm talking about? Like if you're on a really hard turn,
tugging and letting go, and tugging and letting go. So you're actually, you can tell it's
hopping.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. That's what I think. I think they'll be pushing that a lot. And
that thing is, they have a whole thing set up. They're gonna really push their XNA stuff. They're really gonna push this.
They've been design. That's one thing they've been pushing at GDC for as long as I can remember.
Yeah, they're gonna go back to the well with pushing the XNA stuff. You're gonna see stuff like how fast can you build a game? Like they're gonna push the XNA plan forward a little bit further. But the thing is, like, I don't know how deeply that's really gonna resonate with a lot of people. I don't think it's gonna resonate in the way that they want it to.
Well, Peter's there, and he was like the big guy who was championing. Molyneux is the guy who's big guy who was championing at the XNA rollout. He was talking about how this gives people a tool, and Peter, for a lot of people who don't know, Peter actually comes from a background of like being a garage coder. That's like where he came up from, and he was like excited because he's like, we can give these people these tools, and within a couple of days they can actually be using a controller, moving something around on the screen, and feel like they're accomplishing and building something.
And they'll be just at the first step of creating the greatest game ever.
Well, and you know what? I think for Peter also it's kind of like a meta thing for him as well, because that sort of creationism is Lionhead Studios. That's a Lionhead game, right? I mean, that's a Peter Molyneux game, building stuff.
In Fable 2, you will be able to code your own experience. You'll be able to code the child that will eventually love you in a way that it will not parallel what you're seeing in the world.
Other things.
I wish I could do a British accent because it'd be way better.
Okay, Luke, other things I'm curious, maybe we'll see at GDC. What about motion controller, anything about that, or anything about changes to Xbox Live, such as, I don't know, dedicated servers?
I hope that Microsoft is going to roll out some kind of dedicated server solution. They need to be implementing something like that, especially because they've got some little game that's going to...
For tentpole releases, at least.
Yeah, I mean, like a game like Halo 3 should have dedicated servers.
Absolutely
agree. Part of the
should
deal.
A game like Halo 3 also have a motion controller?
No, absolutely
right.
not.
Just checking.
I think if they announce a motion controller, that the response will be very negative. Like if they try and position it as, hey, we're doing this, I think the response from the crowd at GDC would be almost like to boo them.
Well,
do not take 360 after Wii.
But if the game they demoed with it was so compelling that I want to play that, then I wouldn't boo it.
No.
Okay, that's an argument that sort of works, because obviously if the game was, you can just context it. Hey, if the game was so compelling that you loved it.
Say the game was a game called Halo 3.
No. They're not going to... The only gestures you'll be making when you control Halo 3 will be the ones that your thumbs make on the analog pad.
My response to mine wouldn't be like, I wouldn't have a negative response. I would be like a shrug.
Skeptical?
No, I'd just be a shrug, because so far Sony has not proven to me that adding motion control to a traditional controller amounts to a hill of beans as far as good games.
The thing is, right now,
no one's really no one's built anything.
No one's
for
built
it
anything
yet.
on it. I agree, and you know what? That's why I've sort of been interested in trying not to like slam them until I see Lair, because Lair, when I've played with it, was the game that really sort of like, all right, well, this really works pretty
Lair,
well.
For me, Lair and Flow are the games I played where it actually works.
But unfortunately, Lair's not done yet, and there's a growing sentiment of skepticism about.
But the problem of everybody has 6-axis, so it's not a matter of buying a peripheral, whereas not everybody has.
I mean, there's a growing sense of skepticism about how well Lair is going to turn out.
Well,
you frown, but I mean, I'm not the first person to say that, Shane.
Well, I've played it. I've talked to Julian, and I am not worried about how the game is going to turn.
Well, I mean, they're doing a session there. I mean, obviously, they're going to do it. We're going to live blog that, I believe.
I think so. Yeah, maps. More than just a map, I think is what Lair's.
But I think the problem facing Microsoft and a motion controller solution is how do you get it to the people? Do you pack it in the system? Do you bundle it with the game? Because if you don't do those things, no one's going to buy it.
I think it's more than just that. I think that, and this is like a greater than just a Microsoft issue. Like, at least right now, we have the comfort of knowing that each platform, Wii, 360, PS3, in their own way are offering 3 very different experiences. The Wii's offering one thing, which I feel very strongly about. Microsoft and Sony are similar, but their online strategies are so different from what we've seen so far. We talked about it last week. The PlayStation Network seems to be the place for like a premium type downloadable game, a premium experience. 360 is really focused on the community part. Like, I would like to see each of these 3 companies continue to go their own way. I want to have specific reasons to own each one. I want to have, and more than just like in the software, because eventually there will be software on all 3 platforms that's compelling, and you will own all 3 consoles. Absolutely.
The consideration of a motion control, the other thing you have to think about is that they're very big now on supporting this across also their PC hardware. So anything they did with a motion control would have to have an API that also worked with PC games, and you'd be trying to sell it to PC gamers as well.
But remember that the Sidewinder, whatever it was called, from 10 years ago, was a PC motion controller by Microsoft.
I'm going to go a step further than Sidewinder.
What was it called?
I think that
they were all called Sidewinder.
They did it with Sidewinder.
I know the one you mean. Yeah.
No, it was something else. Anyway.
No, Microsoft has learned their lesson before when they've taken these flyers, like the first-person shooter controller where it had like the orb and you jury. You had one side that moved and one side that didn't. That was a disaster. They had a real-time strategy game thing that was like this monstrous thing that fit under your hand. They've done this before. They know it doesn't work. I would be very surprised to see them right now, when they're riding a high and doing so many things right, worry about trying to.
I don't know.
All it would be doing is putting their product in reference to the other guy's product, and it's not worth it.
We'll see.
Well,
on Microsoft, I mean, there's going to be PC stuff, definitely.
There's definitely going to be, DX10 is going to be huge.
Yeah, that's going to be all over the place. I also think, Live's going to be its big coming out party, presumably.
I think that this is where you're going to see like the feature set that we alluded to with the silver version of Live on PC being free peer-to-peer gaming. And what I was thinking this morning on my way to work, actually, I'm glad this came up, was that a Microsoft rep said, well, yeah, then, for giving PC gamers something for free, and then console gamers aren't getting that, then maybe we need to offer console gamers the same experience as PC gamers. So then what if Live Gold was a way to access those dedicated servers? What if that became like, if I have Live Gold, then I'm getting funneled into the live dedicated server experience? Like, Sony first-party games have them for free, but if Microsoft was willing to put up the bucks for dedicated servers for everyone, then, it's, that's a better situation for everyone.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's a tall order at getting anyone to pay for a service when there are so many alternatives. I think that the fundamental undoing of all this could be, why am I going to do that when I can hook up through Xfire, I can, use GameSpy. I mean, there's so many alternatives. I mean, the reason it works on 360 is there's no alternative. And it's, I don't know. I don't think it's going to. I mean, there were stories kicking around today. $50 for Live Gold on PC potentially.
I don't think that that's a reality. I think if anything, it's going to be like this. This will be the beginning of the slow teeter-totter toward Live Gold being free. Period.
Yeah, I definitely think you're onto something there.
Yeah, because I think if they try to charge PC gamers for anything, they'll be upset.
Especially if they start to see the stuff that. If they start to see the stuff that Sony's doing. If Sony's going to start to innovate in that online space and start to cultivate community, and if they're going to start to do it for free, which they may or may not, that's when Microsoft's going to be looking at another uphill battle.
Well, at some point in time, they may start to try and think about some ways to re-energize Vista sales. So, maybe a tier of Live would be a premium that comes with Vista Ultimate.
I don't think they have to re-energize Vista sales because they're already expecting to sell 75 million copies by next spring.
And if you buy a PC with DX10 hardware in it, it's got Vista on it.
Yeah, but you know what? When Ballmer made his there might have been some overestimations about sales and everything. That really cool. I mean, Microsoft stock had been coming back really nicely, and it cooled very quickly. And that was not the investors didn't like that.
They are promoting the fuck out of that thing.
Well,
I
yeah.
was walking through JFK Airport, and there's this tunnel. I don't know if you've ever been through it. There's this huge tunnel that goes under one of the runways that you walk through, and it has these big walking things. The entire walls on both sides, and it's like 200-300 feet long, is these giant flat panels showing like Windows Vista stuff. And there's Windows Vista all over the walls and on the floor and on the ceiling. And then there's you go through this door and it's got the big window. I mean, it's like everywhere. It's like, why are you doing this? Why do you need
Well,
to
you kind
tell
of
us about
forget
this?
how big and ubiquitous it is. And I was curious about it myself. And then when I saw this sales figure that they were predicting is $75 million in a year, I mean, that's absurd. I mean, a best-selling game sells 5 million copies.
Yeah, but that includes OEM.
Right,
like hardware.
of course.
Dell sold 10 million PCs last year.
I believe that something like 90% of those 75 million are to be sold in OEM because it's part of the whole PC plan that people buy new computers for a new Windows. That is the business.
And,
There's
in this case, gamers are going to, if you have a PC that's a few years old, like getting some of this DX10 compliant hardware into your PC, like Jeff Green was talking about, the standard new NVIDIA, the 8800, the DX10 compatible card, in its standard form, wouldn't physically fit in his PC. I mean, there is actually a smaller, there's like a mini version of it that you can get, but I mean, it's like when the hardware has so much fans and heat sinks and all that junk on it because it's so powerful, and it's $600, then you can start thinking, well, if I want to drop $600 on a thing, I'm kind of sick of my tower anyway. I'm just going to buy an XPS laptop or a Voodoo laptop that's ready to go and it's got Vista on it. And I mean, if I was in the market for a PC, I'd probably do that.
Well, this is the whole Mac versus PC commercial. I mean, that's it right there,
Well, I think DX10 is going to drive hardware sales in the computer business with a spike that hasn't been seen in a long time, because we've been in PC gaming for a very long time. We've been on a gradual upgrade cycle where you could go a cycle or two in video cards and be all right. They'd give you some new drivers, you could add a little memory, you could do this or that. You didn't feel like you were compelled to jump each time with a new video card. You don't. Not only do you need to jump with a new video card to be like playing DX10, you need at least 2 gigs of RAM. Of course, we can't address system still has problems addressing more memory than that, but it's a 2 gig system. You almost absolutely have to have a dual core Intel processor. I'm surprised at how poorly the AMD processors are performing on games early on in DX10. Hopefully they'll get that under control. So you're basically looking at people who want to play PC games in DX10 are going to, for the first time, just be forced. You're going to have to go out and build or buy a new machine.
Well, I think at GDC we're going to see, I mean, like so far, what have we seen that runs under DX10? Crysis.
Right.
Again. Age of Conan,
right,
which we saw once, which was looking pretty good. But there needs to be, where's all the other stuff that we heard about?
Is there a Microsoft Game Studios game that's like the flagship game?
It's not. I mean, Halo 2 runs under DX10, but it's not a DX10
impressive.
demo.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm hoping that...
Not to say, maybe someone's going to say it.
Gears of War.
Yeah.
Could that be?
Which may or may not be running on...
Wasn't it recently referred to as an inevitability?
Yeah, I mean, inevitability,
Oh, come on. No one thinks it's not going to be made, but anyway, DX10, right?
Let's move on to PlayStation 3.
Yes. Well, there's the home thing.
The home thing that we talked
presumably
about
is the big deal, right?
It's got to be one of the big, probably 5 talking points that Phil's going to go
I think that might be one of the big 5 talking points.
Well, what about your prediction on Killzone 2? You still think that might happen?
I didn't. No. I never said it would be. Like, if you read, I just said that Harrison's keynoting at GDC. I still think that there's going to be a demo, and I still think that there's going to be a demo before Halo is going to ship. But I don't think you're going to see Killzone just yet.
Yeah, but what I've heard is, like, the big things they're showing aren't things you could ever predict. Like this home thing. Like, no one knew that existed until today, in the general public. And I think that Sony's going to hit us with the left field stuff that you didn't know existed.
Be that, and I think there'll be some unexpected franchises that might be download rather than packaged. I think there's really supporting the PlayStation Network and the PlayStation Store with like big names.
Yes.
Big names.
Yes.
Yeah.
Huge.
What sort of things could a PS3 do? I kind of agree with you that they're going to do stuff that's not just traditional title-based, but I think that if they go that route, which I'm saying I think they will, that they're going to be focused on trying to differentiate, this is something you could only do with PlayStation 3. Right. So what sort of things could only be done with PS3?
I think they might be rolling out the new iToy, and I think they might be showing some new, really weird iToy games that are things you never thought possible on like PlayStation 2.
Like
All right.
iToy and motion control, sort of like
Right, and online, and like the MySpace.
what's more than 3D?
Yeah, and like
4D.
and like
oh my God, Kutaragi was
MySpacey
right.
stuff.
Sony vindicated.
Yeah, I think more community, more sharing, more internet, more peripherals, motion stuff.
We're going to be sick of Phil Harrison next week, right?
I can't wait. I really like. It's sort of like before TGS. Before TGS, there was like a tangible excitement, Shane, about what Kutaragi was going to say, and I wanted Kutaragi to like convince you to buy a PlayStation 3. And it's like now. It's like like okay, this is it. The board is set. The pieces are moving. Please, 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 let me want to buy a PS3 next week, please, because I can find them. I can get one. But I want to have a reason to buy it. I want to see something from Sony that makes me go.
I think we'll hear a lot of interesting DLC stuff as well. I think maybe for existing games as well. I mean, I got to think there don't appear to be any hooks in MotorStorm for DLC, but there probably is.
Actually,
right?
I did an interview with the producer of MotorStorm this week that is going to appear in the magazine, and it was largely about DLC, and I was really surprised what you had to say.
That's good to know, because I think you liked it a bit more than Garnet and I, but I mean, I think we all agree that we liked it, and we all agree that MotorStorm is probably as significant to PlayStation culture as a brand, and will probably end up alongside Twisted Metal, Wipeout as like games you really associate with PS3. Right. So, and they need to do things to it. But I could say, coming from
what the producer said, they're incredibly interested in the community feedback, and they're 100% committed to delivering everything people want for the title.
So so now we're in a situation, I think the PS3 is going to lead the way in DLC or sequel. And whereas in the past it was immediately get on the sequel and just crank out and fix everything that was wrong.
Look no further than their biggest title, Resistance.
Right.
We're going to see stuff about that soon too. But on that subject, I was like, well, all these things you're talking about adding, why don't you just put that in a yearly sequel? He's like, well, that's not the plan. We're not doing that for this game. I'm like, okay, well, that's a good plan.
So if they can keep adding functionality, that game, I felt one way, you felt another, but I think with DLC, it could definitely change the way that people feel about it.
So this is a place where Sony's strategy of having their top-tier developers actively engaged in their online store and microtransaction system really pays off, because these guys are really thinking in that mode. They're thinking, oh, MotorStorm, we can add more stuff to it. Resistance, hey, let's add some more single-player content.
But we are going to get into the argument of, okay, you charged me $60 to start with, and I criticized it for not having this mode, and now you want me to pay $5 for it?
Right, and it's the other thing, the longevity of a PS3 game, like maybe we'll be looking at these games like you look at an MMO when an MMO comes out, where it's extremely difficult to review an MMO because there's going to be so much more added over time.
Right.
And then that does create a conundrum of that you just said.
Right. How do you? Yeah, I criticize. We talked about this a few weeks ago. Both Garnet and I had said that we felt it was a little limited. It was beautiful and exhilarating, but ultimately it was a little sort of single-minded outside of the multiplayer, and we feel a certain way about it, and you try and quantify that, but then you're like, okay, now we're going to enhance it, and for $5 extra, this game is way better. And it's like, oh.
Yeah, it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah.
It's the problem I ran into when I reviewed Phantasy Star Universe. I was a huge fan of PSO, but that game didn't feel finished. It was like, well, this is half a game. And then, in 6 months from now, when there's an expansion pack and there's a whole game there, maybe it's better. But, it makes it hard to review initially. I gave it a 6.
I think I think you've got to see something, and Sony's got to do something with SOE. Sony Online Entertainment, and I know that the X-Fire
something
guys,
other than Untold Legends.
The X-Fire guys are getting ready to chat again, and I don't want to dig that up too much, but I think that at some point you're going to see
something that I think is going to come out of
vision.
GDC, and I don't know which platform it's going to be on. I think given what Microsoft's trying to do in terms of positioning themselves as the RPG platform, I think there's going to be some big MMO announcements in the console space, like trying to take that type of game and pull it away, make it not just the domain of PC, and try to make MMO experiences and non-traditional MMO experiences. We talked about Home being like a weird meta MMO, but I think these persistent worlds on console is going to be a big part of what we're seeing.
Microsoft has dabbled with it. They had True Fantasy for a while before they pulled the plug on it.
Whoever gets that right.
But not just these big, all the MMO, not just a sort of, a space age MMO or another variation on orcs and elves hitting each other, but something different that's persistent.
Well, but I think what Home is it's almost more like a Second Life meets MySpace or Laguna Beach Virtual Online, something like that.
You just wanted to talk about Laguna Beach.
Yeah, I did just want to talk about Laguna Beach.
How did he work Laguna Beach into that?
I try.
That was impressive. You know what's interesting to me is when we talked about Nintendo, that we were almost immediately drawn to talking about. We've talked about Sony for almost 8 minutes now. And we haven't even mentioned that little handheld thing.
Oh, yeah,
that
the
they
PSP.
have. Oh yeah, the PSP. Yeah.
Well, one thing that I think is coming soon is the remote play for PS3, which was announced, over a year ago, but it hasn't come to fruition yet. And what that allows you to do is, if you have your PSP, you're at a Wi-Fi spot, you can log into your PlayStation 3 and view music, movies, video, pictures, PS1 games, on your PSP.
Yeah, Phil talked about that at Gamers Day last fall, right?
And
so let me ask you a question, because I've seen some emails that floated around the office on this subject. Do you want to leave your PS3 on 24/7, 365?
maybe you can access it like in the way we Connect does. I don't know how that works. That's a question that I can't answer.
All right. That's fair enough. Anyone want to jump out there then as we wrap this thing up with the game they're most looking forward to playing that they haven't played before?
We will get our hands on Mercenaries 2 World in Flames, which looks fucking awesome.
When I first started here, there was an event in the first month or two. It was in the pre-E3 hype where you got to go to an EA event, and you came back from it and were like, oh, dude, Mercenaries looks awesome. And then Pandemic put up video this week on their developer blog that showed gameplay footage. And
looks really good.
Looks all right.
Yeah.
John, anything?
I want to play Mass Effect. So let me get my hands on
I don't think you will get your hands on it.
No, let's wait.
Not even you.
We'll try, huh? We'll report back next week on our mission to play Mass Effect.
Yeah, it's kind of mine, Mass Effect. I know that you're going to see the first English localization of Blue Dragon. So,
right.
I mean, that's kind of cool. But, yeah, you know.
I heard people are playing Halo Wars somewhere.
Yeah, they're playing it down at Ensemble in Austin. It'll be a while. But the thing is, let's just think back to the way that Microsoft does the timelines for these games. Remember, about a year ago, probably at this time, you were hearing about Halo 3 being playable in multiplayer, you know? And I mean, people were like, wow, it's playable and it's up and running already. So Halo Wars, already playable multiplayer up and running. I mean, it's going to be a while till we get to play it.
November 2008.
I think a lot of things, which ties to something you'll hear a lot at GDC, which is the whole idea of getting a game playing at some primitive level and making sure that it's fun from the very beginning is something developers really talk about a lot now. It's very much a part of the design cycle, so that doesn't surprise me a lot. I guess the one I'll look forward to is I'm going to try and just get a minute or two with Forza 2 because I'm just jealous that you got to go. I want to play the game. We've already covered it. We already got it nailed.
He's borderline harboring a grudge, huh?
A little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, at least it's not an alcohol-fueled one.
Exactly.
Just a little water here.
Little
Nothing
water,
special.
little Fatal Frame 2 wine.
Well, no matter what we do, we've got a ton of coverage. And Luke and I have been, Luke's been working furiously on it. I've been trying to back him up, working on schedules and all that. We have a ton of coverage lined up for you next week. And yes, One Up Yours will be bringing you some special episodes to keep you up to date on what the guys have been up to, what we've been looking at, what we've been playing, what we liked, what we didn't like.
Yeah, there's going to be like a bunch of daily, like One Up Show is going to do daily stuff too, supposedly. So there's going to be a lot of hopefully different check-ins during the day. A big part of our coverage on One Up is going to be bringing you as up to the second stuff as we can as we're sitting in on different sessions. And
we're going to do a lot of live blogging, a lot of coordinated efforts amongst all the people on the floor from, EGM guys, the Games for Windows guys, and the One Up team. So you got a lot to look forward to next week. There's plenty to do this week. I mean, holy cow, it's been a crazy news session.
Yeah, the beginning of the week sucked. Last half of the week, thanks, Sony.
Exactly. So don't go anywhere. It'll be worth it to stick around. We'll be right back with Luke in the news.
Now available, the highly anticipated new album, Illuminate by Karma Coda, featuring the hit single, Turn. And 11 other new tracks. The new album, Illuminate by Karma Coda, is available at iTunes, Amazon.com, and CDBaby.com. Visit them at MySpace or KarmaCoda.com for more information. Karma Coda, Illuminate.
Look, I've been looking at this news list, and I don't even know where you're going to begin, so take it away.
I don't really know how people have so much time on their hands. I don't know that letting a machine play a game for 10 hours is worth 60 points, but this dude apparently thinks it did. This man across the pond, the guys at Level My 360 created a machine that would complete achievement points for you.
Wow, that's
it's
pathetic.
What kind of that's 60 points. A guy found out that he was 40 hours away of doing something mundane in Perfect Dark Zero. So he, instead of playing for 40 hours. I mean, why would you? He just made a machine that did it for him.
We had this argument the other day that, like, for multi-platform releases, 360 has the inside edge just because of achievement points.
Maybe. We talked about the game a little bit earlier, but God, if it isn't worth talking about again, Mass Effect.
Hey.
Multiple forms of user customization. Some of the stuff that we've talked about earlier, like that character, that like title character you see from
You
Mass
can be a
Effect,
woman, right?
The hulking space marine. Like
Well, you can be pretty much anything.
You can
I think,
create.
yeah.
You'll be able to
You could
create
be one of the,
character.
the alien with like the metal face and stuff. You can be one of those. Or
Really?
I believe so. Yeah.
That's awesome. But the game's also going to fit on one disc. It's a DVD9 though.
Dual layer DVD. There's plenty of anyway.
SimCity arrives on the DS this summer. Shane, is that going to be awesome?
I hear it's pretty good. I'm more excited about My Sims personally.
Because you're looking forward to grabbing your DS and blowing into the microphone to put out fires.
Yes.
What's My Sims?
It's the cute little Sims game they're making for Wii and for DS. That's
nice.
Being made in Japan, actually.
Cool.
Grand Theft Auto 4, the countdown to a trailer.
Woohoo!
That came up on the internet. This is the first time we're going to see anything, and it's only how many?
27 days away.
27 days away.
Yeah.
John,
Gives
are
them
you
27 days to make sure the internet's
I'm
ready.
excited.
So-
I've heard some things about GTA 4. Some things
excited? Some things and some stuff.
and some stuff and
Have you,
shit.
have you heard any locations?
No. Now I had lunch and a couple of beers with some of the guys from Rockstar a short while ago, and they were just like they were really fucking with us. So like, yeah, when you see GTA, your first time you see it, you're not going to believe that it's GTA. It's just not like GTA, And then they were like, well, the spaceships and aliens and shit that kind of like put people off. And then they just kept riffing on. They were like really trying to, but I think something unexpected in the way that it looks.
Some subterfuge going on.
I don't think
there.
it's going to be. I think they are very conscious of moving on from the way everyone's ripping them off.
The thing is, one of the things that you notice in the site design, if you click over to the website, God, I don't have the URL off the top of my head. It's I think it's rockstargames.com /IV4.
Yeah.
The way that they look like they're branding the game is as the 4. Like
Yeah.
the 4 seems to be the main
There's
thing.
definitely
Like
a new logo.
like
It's
the-
just the 4.
Like the Grand Theft Auto text that you know and have known, that like Grand Theft Auto, the brand, sort of seems like it's being pushed to the back
Yeah,
in
it's-
favor of this 4 to indicate some sort of probably new evolution that you're talking about. I mean, I have a little goosebumps thinking about it, and I think the Grand Theft Auto games are totally overrated.
Well, and I totally
Really?
Yeah, I don't
Really?
like them. I like
San Andreas is awesome.
I like 3, and that's it.
I think they need to fix the graphics and the shooting. If they do that, then they got it.
I think that John's right. It'll be a lot more than that because Saints Row went a long way in doing that. And the last thing that Rockstar wants to do is have a game.
The last thing that they don't want to do GTA like looking better and they've got interiors and it needs to be something. It needs
The
to be
last
something
thing they
beyond
want to
that.
read in anyone's preview or review of 4 is remember in Saints Row
How about remember in Crackdown?
No, you know what GTA 4 needs to be? It needs to be Resident Evil 4. It really does. In that it like completely galvanizes the series and brings a lot of new people into it because the gameplay and graphics
changes it in an unexpected way,
Yep.
makes it a little more. Yeah,
How do you do that?
I don't know, but I think there's going to be a lot of stuff in the new GTA.
Well, that's always been their way. I mean, if you look at the evolution of that series, the jumps, and especially the jump to San Andreas was just amazing.
But I think they
amount
are
of
going to rein
content.
it back in terms of the scope. I think they have to.
Yeah, I think rein in on scope and make it denser. I think
Right.
is my
I agree.
prediction for that game.
You look at what they did with Bully. Great,
Yeah.
they've really gotten much better. And you look at Bully, and then you look at CJ before that in San Andreas, and how much better their character development and sense of actually being involved in the storyline has gotten.
Mm-hmm.
4 will be. I think 4 will be galvanizing. It'll get you.
A lot of people are going to watch that trailer.
Yeah, just a bit.
A couple.
Ken Levine,
I thought you were talking about Kutaragi.
You did Next Gen a few weeks ago. You're on Player One this week. Now,
Maybe he should be working on the game.
yeah, because the game is not done. It was supposed to come out in June, but it got delayed to August. What's the
Yeah.
deal?
I guess I should give him a call since
He's your boy.
Is it really August?
Yeah, on the
It is
official,
really
on the
August,
official,
apparently.
the site for the game. It's August 21st.
Are you that surprised?
I'm actually thinking. I'm surprised August it would be when they would release it. Who releases a game in August?
Everyone who wants to get games out before Halo ships.
Or
There's gotta
GTA?
be, like-
GTA.
Well, here's the thing with BioShock. I mean, they're pushing so hard to make that game incredible, and And I think that some of the concerns like the EGM guys have had is that every time they brought us the game so far, it was guided demos. It wasn't hands-on. And if the thing was going to be ready this summer, you kind of felt like, shouldn't I have been able to just play this and not worry about it breaking yet? So there's probably some challenges to get over there. They're doing a lot of AI stuff. They're doing a lot of interactive world stuff. And if it takes that long for them to hammer out the problems of, well, what happens if this guy goes over here and plays with this thing? Great. I'd rather have them do that.
It's looking, though, like the longer this game goes on, it's looking a little bit worse every time I see it. A little bit.
You know
a
what?
little bit in
Come
screenshots.
on.
Maybe
It
the
looks
screenshots
so
aren't doing
good.
justice, but I mean, I'm just saying.
I think this is definitely a game. The screenshots do not do justice because so much of it is in the water effects and the lighting effects in the underwater environment that when you see the game go into motion, it makes a huge difference over just a snapshot. In a snapshot, you're just getting one little picture of the water effect and the lighting effect in one place.
For me, this game has a lot to prove because, like, again,
you want to redefine the shooter.
I'm so indifferent to it. It has.
You want some new verbs?
We'll see.
Oh, God,
I want it to
don't.
be a really amazing adventure game. I think that might actually be more of what it is, and I'll be happy with that.
That's what I want, and I think it's
Like
going to
that-
come through on that level.
Yeah, that and Alan Wake, because I like adventure games. I'm actually really
Oh, dude,
excited
I'm
about.
so hot for Alan Wake.
And you still have so long to wait for Alan Wake.
I'll keep waiting.
Epically long to wait.
Yeah, I know,
Eternities
but that's
even.
fine. I mean, come on, those guys. Max Payne 2. I really liked those games.
I would be very happy if at GDC, to go back to predictions for a second, if they showed BioShock in a form where it was like, oh, now I get it. Oh, good. Okay. Because so far they have not done that for
They
me.
have a panel about dynamic music in BioShock, I believe is what their panel's about.
Whoopee.
Yeah, probably not going to have the eureka moment at GDC.
And the thing is, the Alan Wake panel is something about like designing for the future, Innovation Studios and Alan Wake, something like that. And so there's an Alan Wake thing that's happening too. That maybe there'll be more information about that game that
Right.
shows up.
Go ahead.
We sort of the last stack. This is all Sony stuff. We didn't.
I
Get
see
to,
that
we didn't
Sony.
get to- We didn't get to talk about it last week because the news broke Friday, but.
It's kind of good that we didn't talk about it because it got clarified today.
A little bit, yeah. So let's start with the bad news. Sony is dropping sort of the backwards compatibility. This is how it surfaced last week, right?
That's what I was talking about earlier about buying the American machine.
Yeah, buy the American machine, the first version. But Shane, it's clarified.
Well, so they're taking out the Emotion engine and another chip that's in the current PS3 that allows for PS2 backwards compatibility and replacing it with software-based backwards compatibility, which isn't exactly as compatible. So instead of being compatible with 90s...
Oh, wait, the 360 has software compatibility, and it's the devil, and I hate it, and it's horrible.
It's also the devil here, because all the games aren't going to work.
However, is this going to allow them to do something more with it? There's
Yes.
been some stuff about this, right?
Yeah, this is what. That's
when
what
you make it not hardware but make it software, you have some flexibility.
You have some flexibility, and some of this flexibility was reported at a site called Rumor Reporter, which is also the first site that talked about Warhawk being a download-only game. Whether that comes to fruition or not, I mean, wait and see. It will. And how many players it's going to have? It's going to support 32. These guys reported all this ages ago, so they seem to have some sort of connection to Sony. But these guys said Sony to release PS3 emulator firmware for software playback, PS3's built-in HD scaler to eventually upscale existing PS2, PS1 games to 1080i and 720p. Now, this sounds like a tall task and one that you should maybe, you'd want to sort of believe with your own eyes, but I've seen screenshots of PlayStation
Bleemcast.
1 and PlayStation 2
like I
games
said right there is Bleemcast.
upscaled.
You guys
Just did it, yeah.
So
if you go into software, you can do all kinds of tricks as long as it's in 3D. You're just playing with the models.
Yeah, so in the long term, it's a cost-cutting measure and could result in some good things, but in the short term, people are getting screwed.
yeah, people are, and so,
Particularly everybody in Europe.
Yes.
Well, and it's such a huge. I mean, this is such a big deal to me because for a PlayStation owner, not having access to my PS2 library with one machine under my TV is a hell of a lot bigger deal than it is as an Xbox owner.
Right.
Xbox, I looked at my library and I'm like, okay, there's
In
4 or
retrospect,
5
it was
titles
a
I wanna play.
calculated risk for Microsoft. For Sony, it's like, okay, I mean, I get that you want to try and lose a little less money on hardware, but it was
$30.
much like something we're going to talk about in a minute. It was very much core to their. This is why PlayStation 3 is good.
How many times did they emphasize it? And then, come on, how big is the library of PS2 games? I mean, Mike.
It's one. I mean, that library is what we lean on every month when we talk about
Absolutely.
NPD, and PS2 continues to do incredibly well. And now, I mean, well, maybe it's a masterstroke. Maybe this will be a way for Sony to continue to push the PS2 sales by saying, stuff's not going to be. I mean, you better buy a PS2 if you want to play this great
Hey, you know
library.
what? We'll finally drop it to $99. There, now you don't have a reason not to want one.
Hand in hand, right? Mr. Harrison, Sony, Rumble is a last generation feature.
God.
Phil Harrison, I believe that the 6-axis controller offers game designers and developers far more opportunity for future innovation than Rumble ever did. Now Rumble it's a last generation feature. It's not a next generation feature. All right. When we have talked for months and months and months about Sony's mixed messages, right? About how you present an argument, how like different dudes say different things. What Phil Harrison needed to say was not feature. He needed to say Rumble was a last gen innovation, because if you say feature, then you're decrying it, and you're saying no, it's a last gen feature.
You're dismissing it.
Yeah, and then
So what you're saying is Rumble has kind of become the weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah, and now.
Oh, we found some.
Yeah, they're kissing and making up. Immersion and Sony are back in bed, doing it, rumbling, vibrating.
They put the quarters in the machine.
I have to say, I really feel for the poor guys in PR at Sony. I got to think when this news came through internally that they were like, "What? We did what? You know what I had to spend the last 6 months spinning? What do you want me to do?"
For 6 months, we've heard we think that the PlayStation 3 provides an experience that you don't need Rumble. Like Phil Harrison, when he was talking with Sam at the Gamers Day, was like, the controller is so light, it's like wearing a T-shirt. It's not going to be as light when there's Rumble back in it. What's the excuse now? Well, now you're getting last-gen features and Gen Now features all wrapped into one. It's the total package. This is good news for Sony, but horrible news for Sony PR.
No, it's even better news for Sony because they make money on peripherals, and now they have to sell everybody a new controller.
Yeah,
or two.
Do I get to trade 6-axis 2?
Can I trade my old controller in?
Well, maybe if you trade your old controller in, the Bluetooth stuff will work too.
Maybe the bastards can include a little bit longer USB cord with it this time.
No, it's Bluetooth. It doesn't need a USB cord
Right,
at all.
until the battery dies, and I have to sit with my face in front of the television trying to play Virtua Fighter.
I actually feel bad for the guys at Sony Computer Entertainment America.
When that came through, I'm like, oh, you poor bastards.
And Dave Carricker responded and shot us a note. And on behalf of Sony Computer Entertainment, he said, "We are very pleased to have reached a cooperative agreement with Immersion regarding the use of its advanced vibration technology." Parenthetical note says haptics technology. We look forward to working closely with them as we explore new and innovative ways to utilize this technology in PlayStation products. Do you remember 2 weeks ago, Phil Harrison was talking about how, the thing is, first-party games will not necessarily use Rumble, but third-party games will be able to make things rumble.
I do not recall this.
If Rumblage were available in the device.
Yeah,
It's a PR nightmare, but ultimately,
this is great.
Ultimately,
it's good. But the shock axis can come soon.
But it is yet another thing on PS3 where they're getting it right. Like, it's all backwards. It's like, okay, so that if this home thing happens, it's finally the community thing we should have had at launch, and you're doing it, and now. It's almost like, again, going back to what we talked about, was the PS3 just released too damn early?
But is any console ever born fully formed?
Well, I don't think the PS3 was released too early. I think it was rushed in through development too quickly because I don't think they were really ready to go forward with figuring it out.
What's the difference between what you just said?
Because you're implying that
it was rushed too quickly or it was released too early. That's the same thing.
Released too early implies that they started down a development cycle and thought things through, and then as they got towards the end, they said, you know what, we need to get this damn thing out. I think that they didn't go through a really solid R&D session on this. You will never convince me.
Garnet, it's not like they didn't want to...
Let me finish my thought.
Okay, but it's not like they didn't want to include this.
Okay, but I'm not going to let you finish.
You will never convince me that pulling a PC video part off the shelf to finish the damn box was good research and development. You will never convince me of that.
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
The video chip in the PS3.
The RSX.
RSX isn't a PC component.
It's not a PC component. It's not off the shelf.
It was a custom. I mean, it's a version of the what? The
it is
6800?
very close. It's no.
But it was custom made for the PS3.
It is not architected as completely for a console.
But you cannot buy anything for the PC that has the RSX on it.
Right, or that uses Cell in conjunction with the RSX to produce graphics.
Okay. I made my argument. I stand by it.
We talked probably a few minutes ago about that PSP controlling your PS3 anywhere. Well, along those same veins, out of Sony Computer Entertainment Europe, which, I mean, who's to say? I mean, if everyone's on the same page, spokesman Jonathan Farger talked a little bit about how they'd hope to extend that beyond just being able to access, like, your media files. Hope to control the Blu-ray player, hopefully interface with your Walkman, your MP3 player. Jonathan Farger said, we're hoping to incorporate that functionality in the very near future, from a local level at the moment to a global level probably within the next 6 months. If I have my MP3 player or my iPod or digital camera connected to the PS3, then I can access those devices too. So if you go somewhere and you leave your iPod connected to your PS3, but you happen to take your PSP with you, then you'll be able to access your iPod. So you have really big pockets.
Well, but if you had, say, a drive with tons of files on it connected to your PSP, you could access those files. Maybe not for music so much, but other files could be more useful.
Is this cannibalism, Sony, to introduce a PS3 price Blu-ray player? It's $5.99, so I could get a Blu-ray player without the functionality of a games machine?
Well, it's better than the $1,000 Blu-ray player that was currently on shelves.
But does this sort of take away part of the point of buying a PS3, which, I mean, we've talked about on this show as like some sort of subtly being the smart way to get a Blu-ray player on the cheap was to just buy this PS3. Are they getting that confident in their software lineup that they're like, we can lower everything down?
I think they're getting more confident in Blu-ray as it continues to beat HD DVD month over month.
It is rocking and rolling, isn't it?
It is.
It seems a little early in the cycle for that crossover point, though. I mean, it's inevitable that eventually a Blu-ray player is going to be $100 in Walmart, right? But for it to be right now, I mean, part of the hook of PS3 was it gets you into the game early, right?
I think they want to be more in line with the standalone HD DVD player prices, which are cheaper. So,
the final note: it's not really Sony specific. The guys over at Insomniac have put out their own developer podcast called Full Moon. And I don't want to plug it too much. I gave it a listen today. It's a little bit like it's a little NPR. And when these guys get a little more comfortable and get some more banter going on, I think it could be a really cool podcast. But it's to see developers stepping out and doing podcasts like this is pretty exciting, because if you have different developers doing it, you have the opportunity for developers to sort of reclaim this information, the distribution of information, and have news coming out of their own studios rather than being dictated by a PR plan. Which I think stuff like that. It's like the way that a company like Bungie does with the weekly updates, and you have these Che,
or Jaffe and his blog.
It's mimicking it's been starting in the movie industry as well. I mean, Peter Jackson doing the video blogs during King Kong,
featurettes for 300,
featurettes for 300, and there we go, 300 again.
Oh God,
we've been talking about this movie a lot.
Have you bought your IMAX tickets yet? It sells out very quick.
A guy from the Metreon actually messaged me on OneUp, and it's like he's just taking care of it.
Oh, nice. You got a guy on the inside, huh?
Yeah, I asked him if they were showing it early. The advanced screenings were like a week ago, but he just said we'll just take care of it.
Has anyone seen the PSP game?
But I think I'm supposed to review it.
Oh, really?
But I'm on strike. I'm not going to review it till I see the movie.
Okay.
Oh God. No, actually, we had code in last week. I think Andrew gave it to somebody else. I think you actually got off the hook on that one.
Oh, nice.
It was pretty nice. But now I know who to hang around with towards the end of the week next week. When we're busy doing all our reports and everything, just kind of make sure that, we could get those tickets to Metreon hooked
Friday
up
night.
For us.
It's like Video Games Live in San Francisco or 300.
Oh, I'll see 300 Saturday afternoon.
Yeah?
Yeah, probably. I think there'll be parties and boozing to do on Friday.
I think so. But you know what? Everyone has plenty of reason to check back with us lots next week. OneUp.com. boards.oneup.com. We'll be there. We'll be communicating with you guys. Let us know, as the event's going on, if you have things you specifically want us to look into, if you have things you want us specifically to talk about, we'll do that. We'll be back next week for some GDC coverage, all kinds of crazy stuff to talk about. And then until then, we're gone.
Thanks for buying this week's One Up Yours podcast. Oh, wait, that's right. You didn't pay for it because it's free, just like any good online service should be. This is Shane Bettenhausen signing off. PlayStation 3.